So hey guys, this is your favorite fictional vortex. So in this video, we will see what if Naruto inherits the power of demon and dragons. But before we start, remember to subscribe and like this video. Now let's start. In the world, there are two places. There is first place known as the Elemental Nations that is heralded as the nation of ninjas in ancient life. It was sitting in the middle of a dead area where people thought there was nothing there but water. However, it is later learned there is people and an entire continent that is located there. From this point they learned that this place is enterable, but it is dangerous with people having the power to create and control the elements and even do things only seen in anime. What most did not know though is that the reason that they were sealed off is due to the Sage of Six Paths fearing that what would come of teaching the people the way of ninjutsu. Basically though, say that would abuse it would go to places without it and start trying to enslave the world. So after sealing the nations off he made sure it did not happen, but there are exceptions to the rule nowadays. NKS to the modern world being that far ahead of the shinobi world. Due to the fear of the world, the lords of those nations agree to trade agreements and peace treaties as they could have new luxuries. However, this eventually lead to those places supplying them having control over their lords with the threat of losing their goods, and thus they did what they wanted. But the thing the world did not know is that a certain shinobi or ex-shinobi was now heading his way to the land of Japan in the hopes of finding a new beginning. A young 15-year-old teen was seen climbing the side of the mountain. This teen had blonde hair that was spiked, blue eyes, whisker marks on his face, and a tan complexion. He was standing almost 6 feet tall and had an impressive muscular frame. It was hidden under his SC cool uniform, which was a red jacket and pants, while having a white shirt underneath and a black tie. After climbing the side of the mountain he sighed. Man, not using chakra can be a serious pain in the ass. He looked up at the giant school that was sitting there in front of him. Man, who the hell builds a school on the top of a mountain next to a coastline? It is probably cheap location, but at he same time a real pain in the ass for the construction team. Looking over at the front entrance, you two can come out, I know you're there. Out of the shadows came two teens, one a tall lanky blonde-haired teen with another being a short, puggy boy with glasses. Whoa, you're good if you were able to detect us. Naruto's sweat dropped. Seriously, that was stealth. I mean, I was better than them when I was still in the fucking academy. True brat, but honestly you were caught many times afterwards. Maybe so, but you have to admit when it came to stealth and sneaking around the villages and stealing stuff, I was number one. Yeah, but too bad that is all you were good for. So who are you guys? The tall teen smiled. Name's Kosuke. My friend here is Tamao. The two shook Naruto's hand, but he could see they were nervous. Why are you guys just hanging out at the entrance of the school? The tall one smiled while getting a perverted smile on his face. This leads to Naruto seeing him point out to the main courtyard. Take a look, it is about to start. Naruto frowned before looking and seeing something that freaked him out. What the fuck? What is with this place? Standing there was a large mob of girls. Some dressed with shirts tied to the point they are strained against their breasts, short skirts, and long leggings. The other group was wearing white shirts with ties and having on skirts as well. Naruto was freaking out more due to how freaking sexy all the women are here and how big their breasts and asses were. What in the hell world did I stumble into? Seriously, is there something in the water here? HMPH. They're not so great, I have better sizes than them. Come again. Nothing. I said nothing, you flesh bag. Soon the link was cut, drawing Naruto back to the fight. Standing at the front of the two opposing groups were two really knockout beautiful girls. One had long blue hair that was done up in a bun, wearing a white top that was strained against her breasts, a short ski RT that was showing off her ass and legs, black heels, gold eyes with slits in them, and she had some kind of pair of brass knuckles. More, there on one of her hands, and she had a predator-like smile with her fang-like teeth. The other girl, she had long red hair with a bun-like style on her head. She had red eyes, a white top with a tie, short skirt showing off her panties from the right angle, and wearing some gloves on her hands. Kyoka, I will not stand by while you bully the innocent people of this school. The girl smiled. You fool. You should know the natural order of things, the weak are eaten to feed the strong. Naruto frowned. While true this is not nature and they are not eating each other. It reminded him of him. Naruto saw the two of them rush at each other. From this point, Kyoka, if he remembered correctly, was blocking with one hand all of her opponent's punches and kicks. At the same time, the ones she did not block either moved out of range of them or just redirected the flow of the move, reminding him of his own art but to a much flashier degree. Whoa man, this fight is so close. I know man, it is amazing to see two of the strongest girls in this school going at it. Naruto raised an eyebrow. I've been meaning to ask what is with the girls in this school. I mean, aren't there more guys? The two looked at Naruto like he grew a second head. Don't you know? This school was turned co-ed like a year ago. There is literally a population of 99.9% female here. Naruto's eyes popped out of his skull. Seriously? Yep. Naruto looked and sighed. Man, Jiraiya would have a field day with this. The two men heard the name and asked, "How do you know the great sage of literature?" Naruto's sweat dropped. He's my. Naruto heard an explosion and they were drawn back to the fight. Sitting there in a wall was the red-haired girl whose top was destroyed, revealing her breasts to everyone. Her skirt was ruffled up as well and she looked worse for wear. She has 2 broken ribs and a shattered leg. At this rate, if she continues doing this, she is going to die. Naruto sighed. Man, I hate this, curse my impulses. Naruto walked up to the two girls and this caused the teens to wave him to not do it. Hey! Everyone turned and Kyoka saw a boy approaching her. She had not seen this one before, meaning he must be a first year then. What do you want, fresh meat? Do you want some as well? She slammed her fist together and she smiled fairly at him. Naruto sighed. Man, him and his bleeding heart. You hit her again, she is going to die, you know that, right? The group is confused. She has 2 broken ribs and while it might not be seeable, her left leg is broken as well. This shocked the girls and saw he was right. Not sure how you would explain murder on campus, do you? Kyoka frowned. She did not pick up on this stuff and this guy did. He must be good, so smiling again. You seem smarter than most, how about you and I go at it then? Naruto rolled his neck and put his fist in front of him while taking a slightly bouncing stance. Fine, I guess I got a few minutes before I have to find my room. He watched as the girl looked at him for a second and made a mad dash at him. This leads to Naruto using his left hand and redirecting the flow of the attack away from him. This shocked the girl and before she could recover, Naruto brought a vicious knee into her stomach, knocking the wind out of her. The entire group was shocked. This guy just hit the dragon of strength. Not just hit her, but he injured her from the looks of the knee strike. But it was a fluke, right? That is what the group that followed their leader into this fight were thinking, but the red-haired girl was watching with intrigue and measure. There is such a big gap between her and myself, but he seems easily. Is he that much stronger than me as well? Naruto, acting on instinct, sent another knee into her stomach, forcing Kyoka to back out of the position, but soon ate a lead roundhouse kick to the right side of her head. This led to him then throwing a jab and cross at her. She saw these coming and was able to dash away from him and get some time to see him. What the fuck? This kid, not even 10 seconds and he not only landed 3 hits on me, but he was ready to continue the barrage. Something about this kid is not right. So you going to keep running? I thought you were stronger than that. Naruto kept bouncing in place and this pissed off Kyoka and she rushed him and this time was mixing her footwork. Naruto was surprised. Her footwork, I can't see where she is going. He saw the punch coming at his right side and quickly lowered his guard to block it. But another first was coming for his head and saw what she did. Fuck, it was a feint. Naruto quickly hardened his arm and blocked the punch coming for his head. This blow sent him skidding across the floor, but he soon recovered and was on her again. This time he was watching her movements and saw she was mixing more of her footwork up, expecting the same result. When rushing forward, Naruto quickly threw his back leg at Kyoka's leg and within seconds this stopped her momentum. Shit. Kyoka forgot that sometimes people would aim for her legs and this would seriously fuck up her. Naruto retaliated with an uppercut from his backhand, sending her up into the air. Her head was ringing so she never saw him spinning around and hitting her in the face with a spinning heel kick. This kick sent her skidding across the ground with a thud. She was face down in the dirt and the groups were stunned silent. The strongest dragon believed to be was beaten down. She barely was able to get any offense going and now she was hurt badly and this guy barely had a scratch on him. Naruto, seeing her down, was about to drop his stance but soon saw a dark aura forming around her. This leads to Naruto seeing her having almost a dragon-like creature forming. He frowned and knew that he was going to need to finish this quick or this might turn deadly. Master, I'm hoping you're watching. I'm about to show the ultimate defense against this opponent. Bouncing in his stance, he waited for her to charge forward while he prepped his timing. He knew screwing up the timing on this could be fatal in a fight and he had to get this just right. Kyoka, standing up, laughed. Do you see this? She showed her hands, they were shaking. Vent felt this sensation in a long time and it makes me want it more. You're the one that can give me the thrill of fighting. Naruto smiled. We're more alike than I thought, but there are some differences. 1. I don't use my strength to beat up everyone that comes in my way. 2. I don't abuse those that are weaker but help make them stronger. 3. I'm not a dragon in the least. Naruto's aura formed and soon a fox creature formed with 9 tails swishing behind it. The aura was dark red and black and soon roared out, shaking everyone to their bone. I'm a demon. Naruto soon rushed at Kyoka and she rushed forward. Within seconds they were on each other, but the minute Kyoka threw her special dragon punch, she was shocked to see his shoulder. Now clench the muscles at the moment of impact and push forward. Kyoka did not register what happened, but the minute she hit him she was sent flying backwards with blood coming out her hand. She soon was sent flying while staring up at the sky. This feeling. Is this what it means to lose a fight? What a peculiar feeling. Kyoka hit the ground with a thud and coughed up some blood. It's over, I win. Naruto took a neutral stance. And the entire courtyard was left stunned. Naruto heard some footsteps behind him and saw it was the redhead from before. Before he could ask her what she wanted, he saw Kyoka stand up and smile. That was fun. Tell me, boy, what is your name? He frowned at her. Naruto. She smiled. Naruto means Maelstrom. I can't wait see more of what you can do. Be ready, I'm coming for a remake. Everyone, we are leaving. Soon her entire group of girls followed her, but she stopped for a minute. I forgot something. She walked up to Naruto and without warning she pulled him by his tie and locked lips with him. The entire courtyard was shocked beyond belief and Naruto was in the same boat of confusion. Especially she slipped some tongue and then left a trail of saliva between them. Tasty, can't wait to taste more. She licked her lips and now was leaving. Naruto was confused. Kyuubi, what the hell was that? In his head he heard a huff and nothing else. Confusing him more until the red-haired girl came up to him and bowed to him. Please take me as your disciple. Naruto held his hands up. Nope, I'm done with this shit today, too many weird things at this point. Naruto quickly turned around and ran away with the girl shouting. Master, wait. Konoha. In the Hokage tower sat a blonde-haired woman going through some paperwork and sitting there with a bottle of sake at her side. Tsunade Senju was just dealing with the daily grind but starting to realize something that made this job worth it. Naruto. Ever since he left, things were just harder for her as a whole and she hated it. More in the sense, she struggled to get her work done. She hated doing the meetings, and more importantly she hated that there was nothing more than ass-kissing going on with the shinobi. Back then he would kick open her door demanding a job or demanding anything to ease his own boredom. I guess she missed the chaos he brought and now realized how dull her life is. Especially since the incident a while back and how she is now forced to deal with the backlash of the incident. But before she could take another sip, a small blue toad appeared on her desk and saw it had a scroll on its back. Knowing who it was she quickly took it off the toad while giving it some sweets for its trouble. Thank you. He nodded his head and poofed away. Opening the scroll she saw a seal on the bottom corner marked, Jiraiya only. And realized that it must be something for the perverts, so she left it alone. Dear Tsunade, how you been? I know it's only been about a week since I left, but I'm having a blast so far. Things are different on this part of the world. Everything is so much more advanced and things are done more with making up for their lack of chakra. Honestly, it is pretty amazing, but you'll never guess this. The school that I enrolled into turns out that it just turned co-ed. Apparently the female ratio here is like 99.9% and honestly there is something in the air, water, food, or something. The women are out of this world beautiful and some of them could give you a run for your money when it comes to the chest. Anyway, I left some pics for Jiraiya to kinda stick it to him and at the same time, I'm doing better. I love the new atmosphere and honestly I'm more into this school. Apparently it has some kind of fighting system that people can participate in and I kind of overthrown the natural order of things already. Yeah I know, I live up to my nickname no. Anyway write to you soon and I'll keep up my studies. Signed, Naruto Uzumaki. P.S. Tell the others that I'm doing good and if she asks, tell her any insult she makes is fine, she means nothing to me. Tsunade smiled at the letter, it sounded like he was doing well. Especially considering what happened to his team and everything prior. First the village was in a crisis with the death of Hiruzen Sarutobi. Her sensei, the third Hokage, and the man that was a grandfather to Naruto growing up most of his life. If someone had a reason to hate her former teammate Orochimaru, this is one of them. Especially given that his teammate was the reason he died and can never see the afterlife after being eaten by the Shinigami. But the worst was about to come. Second, he had a run-in with the Akatsuki and learned that they were after him. Well, that was the case until the other lords of the land started bringing in Mersine World to hunt them down with their amazing weaponry, and this led to many of the Akatsuki, the most feared group, being wiped out. At this same time, many of them were picked off by range weapons and some by explosives. It was pretty amazing now thinking that the group that was once so feared now only has about 5 members alive as they know. That includes the man known as Itachi who had disappeared after the members were being hunted down. Naturally this caused more trouble for her after the council got word about this and wanted these people and their weapons for themselves. They, more likely the civilian council and Danzo, were pushing to get these weapons for themselves to potentially usurp the land. However, it turns out that the weapons don't react well to those with chakra, so it helps in this case. Even then she would refuse to let them bring those kind of tools of destruction. They already had the power to reshape battlefields, no point in adding more into the mix. The worst thing that happened, was Sasuke Uchiha fleeing the village, and after nearly killing Naruto and the rescue team in his retrieval, the council wanted Naruto's head on a silver platter. He was charged with endangerment of a noble clan and charged by just breathing, and at this point his career was in jeopardy. But Sasuke escaped the village thanks to the council and made it to Orochimaru, throwing the trial out, but they demanded he take some time off. Naruto did one better, he quit being a shinobi. Everyone was shocked by this, especially Kakashi and Jiraiya. He told them he refused to fight for something that is tardized version of his grandfather's dream. He refused to serve a village that spat on him and demanded he save them in times of crisis. Sakura saw this as him being jealous of Sasuke and tried to hide him for being dramatic, but this led to him hitting her and knocking her out. From this point, he was left on his own for a while until he started training again, wanting to get stronger. But he told them that if he did encounter Sasuke again and he had a chance, he would kill him on the spot instead of letting him live. In time, Naruto grew and soon found a third master that took his training more seriously. Looking over at her table on the far side of the room, she saw the picture of a teenage Naruto with a brown hair man whose hair was in a ponytail. It was going down his back and he was built like a bodybuilder. The biggest thing is that he was wearing a traveler's cloak and a short-sleeved black shirt and long baggy pants. On his feet were bandages and on his hands bandages showing signs of dry blood. This man was Naruto's taijutsu teacher, alongside having sessions with Jiraiya and Guy. He was a man of mystery who came to this country and after seeing the fiery passion in Naruto's eyes took him under his wing. Naruto soon trained vigorously under him, becoming a powerful warrior in his own right. Tsunade sighed. That man was an odd one and just so flippant about life, and if he died then so be it. He was weaker, and that is all that came from this mess. Naruto after this soon got an invite to a school for children around his age from his teacher a year ago, and then took the chance to explore the world and do his own thing. Now their current situation stands with her dealing with the council wanting him back for his status as a weapon or a punching bag, while the others want him to have a happy life outside this horrible village. She was training 3 students, with 2 succeeding and the third being a disgrace. Her favorite 2 disciples are Hinata Hyuga and Ino Yamanaka, who have proven themselves time and time again. They mastered her arts, their clan arts, and even mastered parts of her enhanced strength skill. While Sakura failed in all aspects of training, she Old heel yes, but she sucked at being a diligent student without bringing up wanting Sasuke to love her and smashing Naruto's face in. She eventually just left her alone to do her own thing and started training the other two to excel. Tsunade looked out the window and smiled. Brat, give them hell. Kyoka. Upon arriving at home, Kyoka's mother, a beautiful woman with large breasts and a more mature figure, greeted her. Kyoka, what happened to you? She smiled. Nothing, I lost a fight but it was a blast. She looked at her daughter in shock. As the chairwoman of the school, hearing things like this was a shock. Her daughter was strong, stronger than most students, and if she had to guess, stood at the top of the warriors in school. However, to hear that she lost a fight and is happy about it was something unusual. Was it this other dragon? No, she was too weak to beat me, let alone for me to take seriously. No, it was a man. Kyoka licked her lips and smiled. Feral, his name was Naruto. This shocked her mother. Oh, so the first-year student from the elemental nations, I see. She smiled at her daughter. So have you found a perfect mate then? Her daughter blushed. No, I only found a rival. Really? Then why are you blushing so hard? Kyoka turned her head. I kept the tradition. I said if a man knocked me down or beat me, then I would give him a kiss he would never forget. Her mother laughed loudly. Stop laughing. I'm sorry, daughter, go see the doctor to have her check you over. When her daughter walked by in a huff, she turned to her mother, if you want the boys at Enshin, then tell him that we have ties to his home country of the Fire Kingdom and that if he wants we can pull some strings there to get what he wants. Kyoka looked at her mother with a smile. I'm listening now, mother. In another part of the school was a girl with green hair and glasses watching a video that she was sent. She was watching with great intensity. This could be problematic. Yeah, but the guy is nothing to you, right? The green-haired girl looked at her friend who had long brown hair, large figure, and was carrying two tonfas with her. On the contrary, I'm not strong enough to defeat Kyoka like this. He is an unknown anomaly that must be accounted for. Want me to look into him, my lady? Turning to her other friend with black hair going down her back and glasses while carrying a PDA in her hand. Yes, I want everything on this man. After all, a demon apparently has walked into our school and I want to be thoroughly prepared for when I have to face him. She smiled, but things are definitely more interesting now. Naruto in his room sneezed and looked at the desk where he had two pictures. One of him with a too big Hokage hat on his head and Hiruzen, while the other pictured him older with his master of his taijutsu style. I miss you, Gigi, Master Nico. He then drifted to sleep while the Kyuubi started making sure he could sleep peacefully and avoid the nightmares that plague him. Tsunade laid back in her chair and sighed. Come out, perv, I know you're there. Out from the shadow, a white-haired man wearing a kabuki-looking outfit came and sat down on the windowsill. Relax, Haim. So I guess you just saw the notice. She snorted. You mean that Sasuke Uchiha is now on the chopping block? The council is trouble, and all the secrets we have been hiding from the village are about to come to light. Yeah, I saw it and have it in my hand. My question is, why did you not tell me about it? He frowned. Haim, while I am a spymaster, most of my time is now spent her monitoring the village or the other villages, making sure nothing is coming from the collapse of the Akatsuki. While true, this is relevant information and something we need to know before the village gets word of it. Jiraiya snorted. You're kidding, right? The same village that not only betrayed Sensei but betrayed my student and his wife and Naruto's trust. Yeah, like I give a shit about what they think. Tsunade rubbed her temple. I understand your anger. Believe me, I want to wring their necks, but our hands were tied, and with Sasuke out there, the damage was already done. He grunted. Quote, still did not give the council a right to treat him like a fucking prisoner. Honestly, the kid leaving for the fancy school he got a slip was a blessing, that is true. Looking at her door, she shouted, Shizune, get in here. The door opened slowly and entering the room was a middle-aged woman with short black hair and a black kimono. She had a very clean pig in her arms that was wearing a jacket of his own. Yes, Tsunade-sama, next time you want to know what is going on, just knock. It is annoying you listening in from the other side of the door. Shizune blushed at being found out while Jiraiya laughed at the poor woman being caught so easily. Anyway, have you found out the information I wanted? Shizune shook her head. I'm afraid not, Tsunade-sama. We have looked everywhere and through all means, but there is nothing. Tsunade's hand slammed on the desk and she stood up. Are you telling me that we have no idea who gave Naruto the slip to join that school? Absolutely nothing at all. She shook her head. I'm afraid not, Tsunade-sama. We have found no traces of anyone that could have done it. I mean, we have had more visitors over the years from the other nations outside of our own continent, but still, Tsunade growled. Damn it, we need to figure out who did this so I can introduce them to my foot up their ass. That person has caused me nothing but headaches since Naruto wanted to go to that school. The kid wanted to go, you saw the look in his eyes. She frowned and looked back at her teammate. Maybe so, but he is still someone that needs to be protected. After what happened to Sensei and his other teacher, he is in a sensitive place. Jiraiya snorted and glared at her. Yeah, well, that kid is not exactly made of weak stuff. He is stronger than that and he will stand up to whatever comes his way. Before they could continue, the door slammed open and into the room came a pink-haired girl with a barely visible bump on her chest. She had green eyes and was wearing a tight-looking outfit that would make her appealing if she had more to show off. Sakura, what are you doing here? Tsunade was annoyed and she was not in the mood to deal with her moody student. I wanted to know if there was any notice of Sasuke-kun or when are you planning on going to save him? She frowned. The girl really was obsessed with the man that betrayed them all. Even back in the day when Naruto quit the life of a shinobi, Sakura was convinced that Sasuke was being brainwashed. He was just being controlled by Orochimaru and that they needed to go and kill the snake to save him. However, Naruto refused to entertain this after having two lightning-covered fists shoved through his chest and barely missing his heart. When he told Sakura he was a traitor and would always be that to him, she hit him for it the first time, but he retaliated by smashing her into the floor with a vicious punch and then slam. While at the time the group had to separate him from the annoyance, the grow-up realized that Naruto was right about how he personally felt. Shortly after Naruto started training under his new master and Jiraiya, she came looking for training from Tsunade in the hopes of bringing back Sasuke herself. Tsunade wanted to throw her out, but she figured she might as well give her a chance to prove she has the talent, and sadly she did, but only a small amount. From what she could gather, while Sakura had great control, she lacked any real power or desire to get stronger on the principle. That is where the other two students shined through, and she could only say high praise for them while hiding her shame of Sakura. Well, sorry to tell you this, little girl, there are not going to be any rescue parties thanks to this. She showed her the order from the fire court, and this made Sakura furious. They can't do this to him. They can and have. Apparently the fire court found it disgraceful that someone that betrayed them and even sided with a terrorist and murderer would be given such preferential treatment. But he is an Uchiha and the last one to boot. Not true. Jiraiya showed his annoyance at the girl. He is one of two that we know of, as the other is still out there. This caught Tsunade's attention, but Sakura interrupted. Well, he is the last truly loyal Uchiha after all. He is only being controlled by Orochimaru, and as soon as we free him from the curse mark he will be with me forever. She had hearts in her eyes and was imagining their life together until Tsunade literally poked her thought bubble, popping it. Wake up, girlie, that boy has never cared about you a day in his life and never will. He will once we free him. Which is why we should tell the fire court that we won't do this. Tsunade growled. Listen, brat. Suddenly someone hit her in the neck, knocking her out. The person in question sighed. She really needs to know when to shut the hell up. People all over the village can hear her when she screams. Thank you, Hinata. Standing before them was the Hyuga heiress. She had a very mature figure compared to most girls in the village. She had large breasts that hung out for all to see, a short skirt, and wearing her hair all the way down her back. The girl in question was considered one of the prized gems among her generation of women, and many vie for her attention, however none succeed in piquing her interest. In her clan, she is considered a weakling, but after seeing her massive improvement in the teachings of Tsunade and at the same time beating down most of the family that dared to oppose her, she is known as the Tigress of the Hyuga clan. Sorry to bother you now, Tsunade-sensei, but I have a favor to ask. She nodded her head. I was wondering if you would consider having Shizune teaching my sister some healing jutsu material. I know you're already busy with me, Ino, and Sakura, so I thought it is better to ask for your apprentice to teach her. Tsunade snorted. Girl, I would have made time for her, but you're right. Turning to Shizune. You start teaching that child how to heal properly, you get me, Shizune. Consider this your graduation present. Shizune smiled. Of course I will make sure she is one of the best healers of her generation. She then bowed to them. If you'll excuse me, I have to deal with getting the message to the council while picking up my student. Everyone watched as Shizune almost skipped out of the room, excited about the idea of finally having her own student. Geez, wait until she sees that a student is a lot of trouble. She smiled. Also, you should know, Hinata, that Naruto wrote a par. Ently that knucklehead is still the same idiot he was before he left. Hinata smiled lightly and blushed. I'm happy to hear that, but I don't care if he changed or not. My feelings for him have not changed in the slightest. Jiraiya giggled at this and started writing something down until she glared at him. You use me for one of your perverted books, I'll make sure to remove your balls for good measure, got it? Yes, ma'am. Jiraiya was waving his hands to ward off the pissed off Hyuga while Tsunade laughed. That reminds me. She pulled out the picture envelope. Here perv, Naruto sent this to you and told me to tell you that not to show this to anyone or he would kill you. He raised an eyebrow at this, opening it and looking at the pictures. He then put the envelope down and smashed his head into the wall. It's not fucking fair. That brat's luck is unreal. How can someone like him have all that damn luck while my luck is that of Tsunade's sucker bets? Tsunade, hearing this, hit his head into the wall before sighing. Anyway, Hinata, be ready, things are about to change and it is going to rock this village to the core. Hinata raised an eyebrow. What news could be such a big deal? School. Naruto sighed, sitting on a pile of students. He had at least 10 students groaning in pain underneath him, and they were all swollen in the face or bruised all over their body. The truth is that he just redirected their power and flow of their attacks at each other. It was their fault for getting too close to try and bull rush him from all sides. In his hand, he saw something that shocked him. It was something he thought was more of classic movie standards if the films from the US were to go by. What the actual Hazumaki? Nickname: Demon Dragon Slayer. Occupation: Student Martial Artist. Notab: Le Facts. Has defeated the Dragon of Power Kyoka, has a fighting style of unknown origin, rumored to be training the Dragon of Speed, and is from the Elemental Nations. Reward: $500 reward and a positee. On that is equal or close to the title of being a dragon. In a poster, it had his current look from the day prior. He in his school uniform and having his hair spiked up more than normal due to at the time his aura was on. Great. This is all I need. Looking at the nearest girl that was cowering before him, he hopped down off the body pile and walked to her. Excuse me, do you know who put this out on me? No, Naruto-sama. I'm sorry, I do not know. She cringed before the teen and Naruto sighed. Well, thanks anyway. He waved her off and proceeded to class. The girl was shocked but quick. Lee started calling for help to get some medical attention to the other girls. This is not how I saw my first day going. Looking over, he saw another girl coming his way. But unlike the normal ones, it was a very large girl in terms of obesity. She had long red hair and dark eyes with a towering figure that made him feel small in comparison. So you're the punk that beat Kyoka? She snorted at the teen. You don't seem that special, honestly, but it won't matter in the end. She rushed at him with one fist aimed at his face. But before the punch could land, Naruto pushed the strike away, redirecting it. You know I'm already late for class, so can we not do this? He got his answer in her rushing him again, throwing another punch at his face, but he redirected the move away. She lost her balance, and he quickly swept her legs out from underneath her, forcing her to fall face first into the ground. You bastard! She leapt to her feet again, and this time, she disappeared from the front and then appeared behind him. Really? Naruto turning quickly on the ball of his heel, he decides to end this quickly. Guess this can work in this situation. Waiting for the punch, Naruto redirects the flow again, but this time without warning. He then grabs her arm and in a blur sends her flying into the air. She is spinning around at a high level speed that is making her dizzy. Redirection form. Change of scenery. Naruto watched as the girl hit the concrete floor, and her eyes roll into the back of her head. Geez, I get there is a bounty, but this is ridiculous and I'm already late. Naruto checking. His schedule continued down the road until he sees the building he was supposed to enter. Going inside, he saw most of the students were eyeing him from a safe distance. However, Naruto ignored them and D just continued to class before finding the room that was marked 1A. Knocking on the door, he heard a muffle, "Come in." Opening the door, he saw his homeroom teacher and just had a deadpan look. Honestly, women in short office skirts, tight tops that are pushing their breasts up, and having a knockout look were becoming too normal for him. Naruto saw his teacher had black hair and it was done up in a bun while showing an aura of a professional. "Sorry, I'm a late professor." "Well, I hope you have a good reason. Wait, you're the new student, aren't you? The one that defeated Kyoka yesterday?" The room went silent. The boys were nodding their heads at him, showing they were happy to see him. He smiled slightly at them but saw all the girls measured him up. Well, minus Ayane, who was looking at him with concern. "Yeah, that's me. As you probably guessed, that has led to a lot of problems for me." He showed her the wanted poster and the rest of the class saw it too, shocking them to the core. More so, Ayane, who could not believe one of the dragons would do something like this to get at him or recruit him to their side. "Ah, I see." She took the poster out of his hand and nodded her head. "Well then, I guess you have a valid excuse. Considering you're a wanted man, it would make sense others would come after your bounty. But please refrain from making this a habit, especially when testing eyes around the corner or when it is going on." "Yes, sensei." "Great, take that open chair over there." She pointed to an empty desk sitting next to Ayane and just sat down, listening to the teacher drone on youth and stuff akin. "Hey Kurama, what do you think about the bounty? This is someone that is aiming to take you out. I don't know who it is, but it has to be the other dragon we've yet to meet." "Safe bet. But that won't matter because if this dragon were stronger than Kyoka, she would have already taken her down, so it stands to reason she is about the same in terms of power. Be very careful making that assumption. You never know. Maybe she has a hidden ace that no one has seen, and thus, she could catch even you off guard." "I know Kurama, but the thing is that I'm not worried. With you by my side and the fact that I trained under a man that was stronger than Gigi, I'm confident nothing is going to stop me in this school." "True." Kurama went silent, and Naruto saw the teacher fondling herself for some reason and just ignored it. "I'm not going to try and rationalize what was going on with her." After sitting in class and dozing off a bit, he finally heard the bell. He took his bag and got out of his seat and proceeded out into the hallway. But listened to a voice behind him and knew who it was, figuring it was time to nip this particular problem in the ass. "What is it, Ayane?" "Master, please forgive me. I know I sprang my desire to train under you so suddenly yesterday that you..." Naruto held his hand up to her and she stopped. "Ayane, it doesn't matter the situation that we were in. My answer would still be the same. I will not take you as my disciple." "But why? Is it because I'm not strong enough?" Naruto shook his head. "It has nothing to do with strength. In fact, that is the least important thing to me. But the truth of the matter is that I can't teach you something that is sacred. It is a martial arts that was passed down to me by my master. I promised when I do select someone to learn under me, it will be after I master this style and create my own version of the style." Naruto glared at her. "Plus I can already tell that while you are plenty strong, you lack the real will to stand against anyone that's wills are stronger than yours. Your conviction is half-hearted." Ayane gained an offended look at this. "Then test me, I will show you my will. True as I will be stronger than the other dragons to protect those that are weaker." Naruto sighed. "Man, you're annoying. You remind me of myself when I was younger. Let me ask you this, what is the point of protecting those weaker than you if you die in the process?" His glare focused on Ayane. "You were willing to die in a fight against another dragon that was not even trying. Deep down, you are willing to die for this, but you also were not willing to admit the thing you missing more than anything. It is something all masters have, something the other dragons have, and something that I have that you lack. What is it?" Naruto closed his eyes and then stared at her with a dark gaze. "You lack the will." He saw confusion in her face. "The will is not having an ideal or something mundane that it helps push you forward. The will is the desire for power just for the sake of power, willing to evolve and change, the will to destroy who you were in the hopes of becoming something greater in the end. Doing things that might be considered stupid or reckless to achieve this power. After learning this desire, then you have to find the reason for this desire and use it." Naruto looked at her with a sad look now. You lack this will as you have not faced something that requires you to reach down and create this. If you want more proof, then here I'll show you. Naruto took his stance, and there was nothing for a few minutes before finally, Ayane felt something in the air. She was sweating, her heart was beating rapidly, and her mind was running 100 miles a minute before shutting down. She could feel her body shaking and she couldn't tell anyone why it was. It feels like something that I can't face. No, it feels like he looking into my very soul and ripping me apart from the inside out. After another minute, Ayane collapsed to the floor on her ass, looking at Naruto in fear. Naruto turned off his aura and stared at her. Until you can find the will, you will never get stronger than this. You will never grow stronger than you are now and will always find yourself weaker to everyone around you. Naruto turned on his heels and walked away. That is one of he reasons I won't teach you anything or help you. Find your will and then maybe I'll teach you. Ayane was sitting there. She couldn't believe it. Someone finally showed her what she was missing and it made so much sense. Kyoka. She had this will and she could see that hers was a thirst for power and strength to satisfy her personal hunger. An endless desire for more and more powerful opponents and the dream of becoming stronger than she was now. At the same time, it was the same with Naruto. His will seemed to stem from something else but it was powerful. Stronger than anything she had sensed before and honestly, it terrified her. Was she really this weak that she had failed to find this one thing? If so, how would she gain this will that he was talking about? Was it as simple as wanting to get stronger or was there more to it? Feeling something behind her, she quickly dashed out of the way and blocked some incoming attacks from a wooden spear. From there she smashed the boulder behind her as well and thus turning it into the form of a dragon. It is good to see you haven't lost your edge, Captain. Turning her head, she smiled. It is good to see both of you as well, we have a lot to talk about. Scene change. With Naruto. He was walking away, trying to remember where his next class was. But before he could get there, he saw two people standing in front of him with short wooden swords at their sides. Can I help you? The two girls were twins from what he could gather, with one wearing a lighter scarf around her neck while the other had a dark scarf around her neck. Are you Naruto Uzumaki? Naruto sighed. Yeah, are you here for the bounty too? They frowned, with the one wearing the dark scarf retorting. We are here to bring you before the disciplinary committee for your actions across campus today. Beating up innocent students and leaving one in a condition that required her to be taken to the infirmary for a series of bad bruises on her head. Yeah, well, they attacked me first. So it is technically self-defense. Plus, I didn't hit them. I just redirected their attacks at each other or just threw them once. So technically, I did not hit anyone. He smiled at him and saw one was blushing in a fury at this comment and logic. Regardless, you are to come with us or face severe punishment. Naruto snorted. Yeah, sorry, until someone can confirm that this is legit I'm going to have to decline. You could be posing as some. Naruto moved away from a swing that was aimed at his head. From this blow, he saw the two girls had flashed forward, swinging their pawns at the same time to take him out with a single blow each. Well, that was rude. He jumped back a bit, and before putting his hands up with his left foot forward. All who dare to defy the disciplinary committee must be punished. The two girls charged at him again, and this time he was ready for the attack. Measuring the blows, he quickly diverted their power attacks away from him. They were able to rebound fast and spin around both clockwise and counterclockwise in the hopes of hitting his head from both sides. Naruto, seeing this coming, decided to go a different route, with him going back to another form. Adamantine form. Indestructible. When the wooden blades hit Naruto, he had hardened his entire body, and upon the moment of impact, the blades broke into pieces. You know, there are martial arts that train people to harden their body to the point that even wooden weapons are powerless in damaging the defender. Naruto then took a deep breath, and without restraint, he sent both of his fists into the girls' stomachs, sending them flying into walls. Adamantine form. Twin Ironbreaker. Naruto straightened up before looking at the two girls, seeing them both out cold from the impact of the punches. They had indentations of his fist in their stomachs, but he could see that they were just out cold. Well, at least I was able to hold back on that attack. Sensing someone behind, He saw it was Kyoka and she had someone at her side. She had an eye patch on her face, wearing her hair in a ponytail that went down her back, an extremely busty figure that rivaled her friend due to how tight her white shirt was. And a short skirt with leggings. On her back was a long black wooden sword, and she was glaring at Naruto. That was impressive, Naruto-kun. Not every day you get to say, someone just manhandle some of the toughest girls in the school and then defeat the two guard dogs of the disciplinary committee. Naruto frowned. Yeah, why are you here, Kyoka? Want a rematch? The girl behind her growled. Watch your tongue, dog. Naruto snorted. Make me. Gladly. She was reaching for her sword but found that her friend held her arm in front of her. I'm here to talk to him. Not letting you get your ass kicked by him. Got it? Yes, Kyoka-sama, but I can't stand this man dares talk to you as if he is your equal. Kyoka snorted. He beat me in a fair fight. Just wrap that in your head, got it? Kyoka turned back to Naruto. Now back to our business, I have a favor I would like to ask. Depends on what it is. I want you to help me train. You see, after fighting you yesterday, I finally realize how complacent I have gotten being the strongest in the school. So, I want to rectify this by training some martial arts with someone that is a master in it. Naruto was about to open his mouth but she cut him off. I'm not asking you to show me the style you used on me, but I want you to help me train in other fighting styles that you might know. Naruto frowned. What is in it for me? She smiled and pulling something out from between her breasts she tossed it to him. Opening it, he read the letter in question and his eyes shot through the roof. Is this for real? Yep. You see, my family has deep connections to the Fire Nation and thus we have some pull with your lord. So after my mother did some asking around, I was able to pull out some information about why you are here. Goes to show that you had some pretty deep feelings of rage towards this guy. So, we gave your country information about how we felt about the matter and thus they are bending over backward to keep us happy. So you did this in the hopes this would convince me to teach you martial arts. She waved her hand. You can see it like that, but I see it as a reward for giving me the greatest thing I ever wanted. The feeling of loss and the new desire to grow much stronger than I am now. Naruto continued to frown and think it over. Kurama, can we trust her? Trust? That is a hard thing to saw. Why right now, as she is obviously using this as a means to get your help to train. But on the other hand, it wouldn't hurt for you to teach her about the other fighting styles you have already mastered at this point. Yeah, but is that safe? I mean, what if she uses this connection to my home to get me to do everything she wants? Then you do the one thing you know you can do, provoke her pride and make her fight you fairly one-on-one and win. True, but still, Naruto glanced at Kyoka's eyes and sighed. I guess if this means I finally get some closure on the issue with Sasuke and Gigi's death, then so be it. It is a small price to pay, and plus given what I can sense her intentions are true. Fine. Naruto came out of the mindscape. I'll train you in marital arts, but we are going to have to do it on the off times as I have a lot going on at this time. Yeah, I noticed. You should know it was definitely Rhino, the other dragon on campus. She saw you beat me and now has been using this a chance to sow chaos against you in the hopes to challenge her. Naruto frowned. Interesting strategy, but it won't work. I've faced stronger fighter than anyone in this school and I know for a fact that I can hold my own against anyone here. Turning his head, he could sense someone approaching him. Now if you'll excuse me, I have something to deal with right now. So, can I help you too? The two girls in question glared at him before they charged him. One having her spear swinging above her head and the other rearing her fist back. Naruto, seeing this coming, pushed off his toes and appeared from in front of them and started dodging all of their attacks. The girl with her fists threw at his head and body, but he just moved out of range of the punch by tilting his head or just rolling under the punches. The body blows, he just moved away from the punch, making the punch follow him. The spear user was swinging her weapon around and trying to cleave him in half from what he could gather. However, he was dodging the strikes by moving his body to the side or moving his head out of the range of the swing. Naruto continued to dodge their moves while hearing someone running down the hall. Stop it right now. Standing there was a girl with long black hair, glasses, and wearing a school uniform that hugged her figure and at the same time an armband showing she was the president of the SDC. You three are to stop at this very moment. Well, I'm not the one that is picking the fight right now. Excuse me for a second. Naruto caught the puncher's arm and without waiting for it, sent her flying with motion twisting in the air. Change of scenery. Stop it this instance. I'll have you expelled for this. The two fighters looked at her with a deadpan look. Really, that is the best argument you can come up with? The girl growled. Fuck this. It is because of your stupid friend that I didn't get to become a dragon. I'm going to rectify that by destroying you here and now. Wit. Without warning, the girl summoned some chains to her aid and out from behind her, aiming them at the spear user. She deflected most of the attacks sent at her while one got the chance to wrap around her arm. The committee president quickly flung her across the room with a considerable amount of force before turning to Naruto. She told us that you were the center of her plan. If I take you out, she will focus on me. She had a mad blush on her face. She will see me as someone she can rely on and use in controlling the school. Geez, another fangirl situation. Naruto rolled his neck. This person you're talking about doesn't even care about you from the sounds of it. If she did, she would not have you fighting to prove yourself to her. Shut up. She sent more of her chains at him, while releasing the spear user who was coughing up some blood. Damn it. She smiled down at her while her followers entered the hallway. My lovely followers, please assist me in taking down these ruffians, would you? She flashed them a dazzling smile, and like a plague of zombies, they quickly rushed at the spear user. Naruto frowned as he was dodging most of the chains that he did not have the time to reach her or her friend, who was lying on the ground not too far away. That was until he saw one of the followers flying away into the wall. The group had stopped charging the two when standing. There was Ayane, and her eyes were sharp, sharper than usual, and she was glaring down all those before her. Asuna, you bitch. You didn't have the guts to fight me yourself, that you would stoop down to these lows. She growled, and soon the group was backing away from the pissed dragon. Love their idol they might, but they were not stupid to think they could stand toe-to-toe with a monster like this. Naruto was impressed though. He could sense something was coming out of her now. Don't be intimidated. She is nothing. She can only fight so many of you, but if she does, then she is in big trouble, so rip her friends apart. The group followed her orders, but some of them were starting to question their orders and see the SDC president in a different light. Whoever manages to take them down and hurt Ayane for me to finish off will receive a private night with me. The fans seemed to get stronger and charged with greater vigor. It is true that I'm a dragon, but compared to the others, I don't have the fangs that they do. More, I don't have the true strength they have. I don't have their will or the desires that push them forward. Soon her gloves smashed together, and her aura became dark red. But I will allow nothing to happen to my subordinates. My strength comes from them. Naruto watched as without hesitation, Ayane was tearing through the group like they were made of paper. Impressive. She almost has it. Yes, she almost has it, but I'm still hotter. Yeah, I'm sure that. Wait, what did you say? Nothing. I said nothing, you pathetic meat sack. Focus on your fight. Holding his hand up, Naruto caught one of the weighted chains aimed at his head and held onto it. Ayane might not be the strongest, but I can see it more clearly now. The reason she became a dragon and someone like you did not. Asuna growled. What is it? Naruto gripped on the chain and pulled her to him, and she found herself flying straight at him, and without warning, he slammed his fist into her stomach. This blow sent her flying across the hall and into a wall, leaving it cracking under the pressure of the punch and her unconscious. Simply put, she can reach for the stars as long as she keeps her friends at the forefront of her mind. He smiled, seeing that Ayane was done. She had defeated all the rabid students while the rest were surrendering to her power. Naruto smiled. She had shown her desire, and honestly, her will was interesting for sure. Will of friendship. It was similar to his own will, which was the will of fire, something he inherited from his Gigi. He carried this with him and used this as his form of strength and to help fuel his desire for more power without becoming corrupted as many others have been. Interesting paths were made in this world, and from he can gather some wills are just plain unique. Will of fire, will of strength, will of desire, will of friendship. Seeing Ayane tending to her friends, he walked up to her, and she looked at Naruto. Have I proven my will? Naruto laughed while rubbing the back of his head a bit. Honestly, your will is interesting for sure. But yeah, You proved yourself, and I can see that you are only just starting to see it yourself. Yes. She smiled at her two friends and looked back at Naruto with great intensity. My will is for my friends. I want to protect them more than anything, and that means becoming stronger than anyone before me. Naruto smiled. I can see that, scratching his cheek. Look, I'm sorry I was so harsh earlier, but without the right will and the showing the signs of this will, I couldn't dare even think of training with you. But now, he smiled, and soon his aura started to form around him. You can have your wish, I'll help train you, but I warn you it is going to tug. And some of the stuff I'm going to teach you is going to require everything you got. You still interested? Ayane walked up to him, got on her knees, and bent over bowing her head to the ground. Yes, please teach me, master. Naruto smiled. Fine, starting in a few days, we will begin your training. Naruto turned from her, and soon, the entire area moved out of his way, wanting to stay out of the way of the teen. 2 weeks later, after rumors spread of what the student disciplinary committee was doing to the students, got out, her little organization was disbanded. Soon, students minus hardcore fans were abandoning her in droves, and any position she might have had with the other dragons was gone. Meaning she no longer had a leg to stand on, but Naruto was sure that somewhere down the line, she was going to make another move against the students. But he would be ready for when that happened and make sure he is ready for when this rhino decides to make her move against him. Naruto had busied himself in arts and spending time with the two boys he met on his first day. He learned that the two of them wanted to admire all the girls that were on campus. While he agreed with this, he told them that he respected them too much to do that personally. That and his godmother would kill him if she found out how he was looking at women in that way. While this is going on, Rhino was sitting on top of the school looking down on Naruto and his two friends. Seeing Ayane closing in on him, she was shocked to see her treating him with such respect. This was something she knew about but did not know the extent of their relationship, and she would have to account for this in the future. Looking down on her phone, she saw a number on her phone and pressed a few buttons before saying, "Delete." Doing so, it erased Asuna's number from her phone. Honestly, the girl was too much of an ass kisser for her taste, and she found that to be in bad taste. What good is someone like that to her if they are not able to think or do things for themselves? Rhino-sama. Turning her head, she saw one of her subordinates looking at her with concern. What is it? She coughed into her hand and held up her clipboard. Well, I thought you would like this information, but we have a new transfer coming into the school in a few days. She raised an eyebrow. Really, and it is not even a month after the first day. She nodded her head. I agree, and normally I wouldn't waste your time with pointless information like this, but I think you should hear this. The person in question is a girl, and she is said to be from the elemental nations like Naruto-san. This caught Rino's interest. Do you have a name? Yes, but there is something else, the tiger. She is coming back to campus tomorrow. Rino's eyes narrowed. What are you playing at Meru? I will deal with that at a later time now, the transfer student. Yes, her name is Class. Naruto sighed, looking up at the ceiling, hearing the teacher talk more and more about youth and other crap of that nature. Honestly, it was getting old and made him think of how Kakashi felt when dealing with Guy. Maybe if I clean up Guy, I can set him up with this woman, at least then they can spread the youth between each other, right? True. Kurama snickered at the idea of this teacher going out with Guy, but then froze. Naruto sensed the air. Seeing the sudden shift he did, and he was frozen in shock. Chakra, someone else that was a shinobi was here. Who the hell would it be? I don't know, but whoever it is, they are sure here for some reason, and my guess it centers around you. A knock at the door. The teacher turned to it. Come in. Entering the room was a blonde woman with short hair but a large chest and a killer figure that came from both good genetics and that of hard training. Hello there, sensei. I'm here as the new student. Ah yes, that's right, we have a new student joining today. Will then, young lady, introduce yourself. The woman got in front of the class and smiled slightly at Naruto, who was nervous. Greetings, my name is Samui Ni, and it is pretty cool to meet all of you. Especially you, Naruto-san. Come again. Naruto looked at the girl in question, but she smiled brightly at him. I'm surprised you didn't know about me. After all, it is a pretty big deal back home. What exactly are you talking about? She smiled. Well, I'm your fiancé from Kumo. Naruto's eyes shot out of his skull. Fiancé. You're getting married, master. Ayane felt a twinge of something in her chest and was not sure what it was but did not like it. The guys in the class were looking at him as he was a god in a sense, and the girls were mixed reactions of jealousy or neutrality. Why, though? You don't know. She frowned. Your parent wrote a contract up with my village leader years ago and thus we are to wed. I never knew my parents. She flinched at this and smiled. Well then allow me to tell you they are Kushina Uzumaki and Minato Namikaze. The Red Death of Konoha and the Yellow Flash and 4th Hokage. Hearing this, Naruto fell into his seat in shock, trying to process everything. Also, you should know the other countries are sending people to talk about alliances or marriages as well since you are now in the CRA. Naruto fainted on the spot, landing on the floor cationic. Naruto was doing some of his studies when he Lieutenant someone staring at the back of his head. Looking behind him he saw it was Ayane. She was looking at him with the most blank expression she could, trying to signal something. If he had to guess, she wanted him to start training her, but he was not sure now was a good time. During gym she was looking at him still and it was annoying him just a little. During lunch she was looking at him and he was starting to gain a tick mark above his head. Class, he could feel her gaze on him and afterwards she followed him into the hall. That finally he had enough. Fine, let's get started, damn it. Her eyes lit up. Thank you, master. She bowed her head while he sighed. What the fuck did I get myself into, Kurama? Not sure honestly. But better make sure you are ready for anything that might come from this mess. Naruto and Ayane quickly took off and found themselves on the 12th level of the school, which had somehow fit an entire mountain range and desert landscape inside of it. Alright, let's get started with your first lesson. Naruto motioned for her to follow him and pointed at the boulder in front of him. First and foremost, while you have speed, I can tell your power and technique is weak compared to other dragons. So we are going to try and bridge as much of the gap as we can. Naruto turned to the boulder in front of him and took his stance. In my martial arts, the art of the Nico Street, YLE is mastering multiple forms of martial arts that go with whatever my fighting style might be. For example, he bounced on his feet for a few seconds before throwing his right fist at the boulder and shattering it upon the impact. Turning to her, she clapped in amazement of his power. This is the adamantine form, which focuses on hardening the body for both offensive and defensive purposes. I see. Are you going to teach me that, master? Hell no. She frowned. The Nico style can only be passed on by someone that has mastered their own version of it. In my case, I'm still a novice at best in the martial arts. Huh, but it looks like you mastered the arts of this style. He shook his head. Mastering the arts is one thing, but the true showing of mastery is that you create your own style of the Nico style, thus making it your own. For example, if someone was to know the art of kickboxing, they could master the art of the Nico style while then transitioning all their moves in kickboxing into this fighting style, thus enhancing the power and skill and techniques of kickboxing. Oh, I think I understand, but she looked confused. What am I supposed to do then? You're going to work on your style. Figure out what allows you to throw the most powerful blow possible with the highest amount of speed and no loss of technique. In your situation, your style lacks power and technique, however. You have greater technique than strength, so that is going to be a focal point of study. Until you learn to balance them, you will never match the dragons even with your newfound will. Ayane gained fire in her eyes and quickly took her fighting stance. From this point, she charged at the boulder that was next to his and threw her punch as hard as she could. But unlike Naruto's punch, hers only cracked slightly from the strike and she huffed. Damn, not enough. Naruto shook his head. Your goal should be to break the boulder in one strike. If you can't do that, you can't advance. Can I use a kick instead? Naruto shook his head. Using a kick would defeat the purpose of the exercise. You see, here is a fact. Your legs will always be stronger than your arms. Why is that? Ayane thou GHT about it for a second and then answered, because your legs are always walking everywhere and carrying your body. Correct. So your legs will always be more powerful than your punches. I understand, master. Good. Now to increase your upper body's power you could do this. He quickly got onto his hands and walked around on them. Naruto did this for a few feet before doing a push-up in this position and then walking some more. This makes you work on balance and learn how to hold your entire body up with nothing more than your arms. Make sure to keep your legs balanced and straight. Yo, you want to do this for a while as this can help with your upper body strength to increase the overall power and durability of your arms. I see, master. Ayane did the same thing, but she was struggling to hold her body upright, making her breasts cover her face. Might want to invest in breast bindings for lessons like this. Wouldn't want you to keep having them fall into your face, Ayane. Naruto admitted one thing: he was enjoying the view of Ayane and her breasts bouncing down in front of her face. He would say that she might be slightly smaller than Kyoka, but not by much if the size was anything to go by. He would say that she had her beat for suppleness, but Kyoka's were by far larger and much firmer. Anyway, Naruto fell back to his feet and waved his hand at her. You keep doing this and when you're able to shatter a boulder with a single strike, then we can start on the next lesson. Yes, master. Ayane quickly got to work, walking on her hands and training vigorously to get stronger. Naruto sighed. He decided against going back to the dorms to change out of his uniform and just walked into town, hoping for a change of pace. More so, he was hoping to avoid running into Kyoka today or her little follower. Ever since he defeated her, her little follower was always trying to attack him in blind spots in the hopes of taking him down and avenging her friend's honor. But he always dodged, countered, or misdirected the strike, infuriating her more. Then there were the other students wanting to cash in on his bounty in the hopes of becoming a dragon themselves. Naruto counted, taking down over 524 students in a single week, and honestly it was getting ridiculous, more so that Samui had been following him around school. That was an added problem. Ever since she showed up, people wanted to talk to him about the marriage that was supposed to happen between the two of them. Naruto didn't know what the hell that was about and told everyone this and asked her what the hell the deal was. Naruto learned that his village made a deal with Kumo in exchange for peace. He would marry one of their own women of choosing. Samui agreed to it and admitted she heard rumors about him, and after seeing him now she admits he is extremely cute. Since then Naruto avoided her like the plague in the hopes of getting answers from Tsunade or Jiraiya about this mess and how he could get out of it. He had a sneaking suspicion that they had a hand in it, and the fact they had not responded to his last letter demanding answers makes him even more suspicious. She mentioned the name of Minato Namikaze, and him being his father, but that was just crazy to him. Even though Kyuubi insisted that he was his son, he could not wrap his head around it. How could he be the son of his hero? I mean, he was treated like shit and no one ever bothered to tell him before this or hint at it. He was convinced that they must have the wrong person. Hearing shouts of praise, Naruto saw that he had arrived outside of an arcade where everyone was gathered around a game of some kind. Apparently two people were playing each other and were trying to outdo the other. But one person he couldn't see was winning without an real effort, and this made him more interested in the person in question. Damn it, he saw one of the guys sitting at the other side giving up from losing his match. This damn bitch beat me 6 times already. She cheated, that is the only way she could win. Naruto rolled his eyes at the sore loser. Yeah, he hated losing too, but he didn't say they cheated unless there is rules put in place beforehand. If not, then all was fair and he couldn't complain. Seeing the game, he saw that the game was all about building up points while making sure you don't reach the top line for as long as possible when the pieces fall down. Move aside, let me try this. Naruto walked past the thug and he grunted. Yeah right, I've been playing this game for years and you think you got a chance? You never know. Naruto entered a quarter into the game and started playing the person on the other side. You'll lose, there is no doubt. I just wonder if you'll have the same expression when you lose so badly. The thug laughed and Naruto just focused in on the game. 10 minutes later. No fucking way. Everyone was shocked. Naruto had managed to tie the other person in the game and they both had hit the line. Huh, well that was fun I guess. Naruto heard a squeak and saw that it was some kind of red hamster. Huh, who are you little guy? Hito, come back here. The little hamster jumped back over to the her side and he saw the other person he was playing was a young girl with long white hair. She had her hair done up in twin pigtails and she is wearing a school uniform of some kind with a scarf wrapped round her fist. Yo, She waved her hand at him while the hamster hopped onto her shoulder. Naruto smiled at her. Yo yourself. You're really good. I didn't think I was going to be pushed this far in this game. Me either. Normally people come in here and try to best me, but I managed to beat them all pretty soundly. So how many years have you been a gamer? Naruto shrugged his shoulders. Never played this game before today. The girl is stunned. He learned on the fly. That is insanely impressive. She smiled at him. How about another game but a different one? Naruto was about to answer but heard a shout. You asshole. I knew it. You both are cheaters. Looking behind him, he saw the teen from before glaring down at him with a knife in his left hand. You both are going to pay for this humiliation. Naruto could only stare at this man for his idiocy. Seriously, he was getting worked up because of this. It was really sad. Dude, you might want to think this through before doing what I think you are about to do. Fuck you. He thrusted the knife at Naruto, but without warning he quickly gripped his wrist and twisted, making it release the knife and fall to the ground. Really? I told you to think this through more carefully. The man growled at this. Fuck you cheaters. Naruto saw him throw his other fist at him, but Naruto quickly countered this by using the wrist he had a hold of and yanked him forward. He threw the teen off balance, in which his punch missed him before finding a knee, striking him in the gut, knocking the air out of him. The teen tried catching his breath, but Naruto smiled. Oh, does it hurt? Sorry, let me fix that. Without waiting, Naruto slammed his left fist into his jaw, sending him falling to the ground unconscious. The entire gaming room was silent after the attack. No one moved, as they just witnessed one of the toughest teens in the area get knocked out like it was nothing. The white-haired girl, however, she could sense something about him. It was not something she had sensed for a while since her friend left the school or her time in that tournament. A true warrior with a warrior's streak. How interesting. She hopped off the stool. Want to get out of here before security shows up? Naruto sighed. Yeah, the last thing I want is to explain this to security. Both took off in a mad dash out of the building, and Naruto was shocked the little girl was able to keep up with him. Arriving at a nearby park with a bench, they both sat down. So, she looked at him. What style do you use? Naruto was confused. What do you mean style? You study martial arts. She smirked. Yep, especially since I've played and mastered all the Street Fighters and Tekken games out there. I learned a lot of fighting from them, but I've never seen your style before, so what's it called? Naruto smiled. I'm a student of the Nico style. The girl stiffened. Really? I thought they were wiped out. Naruto shook his head. No, my elemental nations and trained me in this martial arts. He saw my potential and thought I was a good successor. I see. Naruto smiled. How about you? I can tell you're a martial artist the way you carry yourself, so what do you practice? She smiled. Hey fuckers. Turning their heads, they saw stereotypical thugs wearing motorcycle jackets, mohawks, and other stupid-looking piercings approaching them. The hell you doing on our bench? Don't you know this is our turf? Turf. Naruto turned his head to the girl, but she shook her head, and this angered them more. You fucking want to die? They showed fanged-like teeth and were trying to intimidate Naruto and the girl, but they were far from impressed. Can you two hurry up and get these brats out of here? We want to sit. Naruto saw two women standing behind the men, and they were dressed in really tight and short clothing, and he could honestly say they were stereotypes themselves. Plus he had to wonder if it was something in the water. Seriously, it feels like cup requirements were everywhere in this city. But before he could react to the men and women, the girl leapt into action and quickly attacked the two thugs, taking one down with a series of punches and Annette her with a double fist strike to his chest and stomach. Soon she sweep-kicked the two women before kicking both into the nearby lake. What weaklings, they could at least try to impress, you know. Naruto smiled. He knew this girl was more than she appeared, and he could feel himself shaking with anticipation. Nice move set. The girl smiled back at him. Yep, trained in fighting for quite some time. But most of my moves come from video games. Turns out you can learn a lot of the moves from those series. Naruto narrowed his eyes. Yeah, but I can see the twitch. She stood straight and stared at him. You wanted to do something else in the middle of the combo. He pointed to her right hand. For some reason you had something loaded up in your right hand for a strike, but you quickly changed to a kick instead. Meaning you were trying to hold back on instinct. The girl looked at the teen in front of her and could feel something stirring in her chest. You caught all of that, huh? Impressive. Honestly, I'm shocked not even my rival was able to pick that up when we fought, and I was using a different fighting style against her as well. She smiled brightly. I think I like you. Naruto was shocked by the confession, but before they could continue he heard a crowd of people behind him. Turning his head he saw someone he did not recognize in the form of a short blonde-haired girl with glasses, a more petite figure compared to the rest of the crowd of busty women. She had a blank expression on her face reminding him more of hardcore shinobi, but he could sense something beneath the surface. And that the crowd seemed to revere her. Finally found you, Meru. The girl behind Naruto smiled. Yeah, but it was not exactly hard, Rhino. Naruto looked back at the girl Meru and asked. You know each other? She smiled. Yep, I guess you could say I'm her senpai. Huh. She smiled and struck a sexy pose with her hands behind her head and waving her hips. Did I forget to mention it? My name is Meru and I'm a third year at Nangokuren High School. Naruto's jaw dropped. Here he was thinking he was talking to a child prodigy, but in reality it was someone from his own fucking school. Kurama, can you believe this? I know first all those busty women and now a fucking loli. It is just crazy to think these human women come in such variety. Naruto's eye twitched. Thanks for the comment, Abu. The women, but I meant more along the lines that a 18-year-old is still so childlike in body and mind. I don't know, you're pretty bad yourself. Naruto twitched at the comment but took a deep breath looking at the girls interacting with Meru. You know why I'm here. Meru frowned slightly and put her hands behind her head and sighed. Yeah, I figured. It is time for you to complete the Covenant of Hagen. Meru frowned. Look, Rhino, as much as I would like to complete it with you, you're not strong enough. The girl glared at her. You will complete the covenant regardless of your opinion. Nah. Naruto frowned, feeling out of place in this mess, but he did see that Meru's eyes were getting sharper. Interesting. Naruto soon saw a swarm of crows appearing out of the sky and someone was hopping down on them. He was shocked by this and honestly confused by the sight of someone using them as steps. The fuck is that possible? Not sure what to tell you, kid, I'm just as Suprio, come on. Yeah, this is kinda getting ridiculous. Naruto bare witnessed to another woman. But this one was different as she was dressed in darker clothing and looked kinda like a gothic maid. She had long white hair that was going down her back and honestly came off as cold and uncaring. The woman walked up to the crowd and whispered something to one of them, with her responding. If you want to get through, then do it yourself. She motioned her to come closer and whispered into her ear again and then walked around all of them. If Naruto was a lesser person it would look like a blur, but he could see her sides. Tapping and weaving through the crowd without touching them. If he was honest, it shocked him how effortless she was moving through the crowd, but could see that while not a fighter she could at least move and block attacks that might come her way. She stood in front of Naruto and he sighed. Look, if you want to get by me, that is fine. She nodded her head and without warning leapt up over his head, leaving him a glimpse at her thong. Geez, is this school some kind of hentai waiting to happen or what? There you are, assholes. Turning his head, Naruto saw the same idiot from before. But this time, he had a small group of men with him and they were all carrying weapons in their hands. I'm going to make both of you pay for what you did to me at the arcade. He motioned his men and they charged Naruto. He sighed and took his stance. This is really lame, but fine, I guess I got no choice. Naruto soon focused on the group of men and without warning he released his entire aura on them. The men didn't know what happened. 1 minute this guy was standing there and the next they couldn't move. Behind the team formed some kind of monster with dark red eyes and sharp fangs. The girls were terrified by what they were seeing while Rhino was holding steady, but Meru, she was smiling brightly. This feeling she had not felt it in quite some time, not since the tournament. Naruto quickly charged men and within seconds appeared behind them, having sent them all flying into the sky. He landed over 20 strikes to those idiots. Amazing. Meru could feel her instincts wanting to fight this guy. She had to know more about him, but then she saw one of the teens, the one from the store, pull out something from his pocket. It was a black pistol and he aimed it at Naruto. Look out. Naruto turned to the teen with the gun and focused on him. One shot. The teen was confused by Naruto's comment. You get one shot. Better make it count because it might be the last thing you do breathing. Naru, Chu's eyes turned dark and soon his aura became a raging torrent of a monster and took the form of the Kyuubi. The teen in question was shaking fear, he could not understand what the fuck was going on. He was panicking. Fuck you monster. He fired the gun, a bullet left the chamber, and barreled straight at Naruto. But what happened next almost no one saw, but the ones that did were shocked how it happened. Naruto stood there with his hand out in front of him and showing the signs of a small burn along the sides of his hand. But everyone looked at the ground and saw that in the short time from the bullet firing and it coming near him, he managed to redirect the shot into the ground. A loud thud soon followed, with Naruto hitting the teen in the face, sending him flying backwards and blood spurting out of his nose. Naruto, seeing the kid was knocked out, stomped on the gun, shattering it to pieces while waving his hand. Furting. Rhino could not understand, how did he redirect the bullet? Hat takes some talent, I didn't think was possible. The fucker all shinobi like this, or is he even unique among them? Meru on the other hand saw it and whispered. Nico style flow control flow edge. You used one of the basic principles of the fighting style in redirecting the bullet. She motioned at his hand. By changing the trajectory just slightly, you were able to send it into the ground instead of into the air, thus removing the threat. Naruto smiled. Yep, you got it in one. I also see that you're the only person here that managed to avoid the overwhelming pressure of my aura. That is impressive. Yep, well, it is not surprising, I'm a student of the Tiger Arts. Naruto and Rino's eyes widened at this for different reasons. Rino because she did not know that she studied martial arts outside of video games, assuming that she just was strong. But hearing this for the first time made her realize her sister never knew or didn't bother telling her about it. Naruto on the other hand, remembered something his master told him. Tiger style is one of the lost martial arts similar to the Nico style. However, unlike most styles, Tiger styles focusing on the principles of karate and Usin. Their fists for fighting while sharpening your fingers and hands to the point of being blades themselves. A master of this style can cut through even steel if hardened enough. Impressive, Meru. Naruto took a stance. How about we see who is stronger now? Meru smirked and took her own stance, legs spread apart and her hands in front of her face sharpened like claws. I was thinking the same thing. Let's see if the tiger can slay the demon. Naruto smiled brightly and Kyuubi sighed. One of the bad things he got from his master was that he lusted for strong opponents. Not in the sense of shinobi, but more along the lines that he desired to fight those in martial arts that could potentially beat him so he can learn and grow from it. It was like an endless hunger for him and he was going to sat it no matter what. Before they could act, Rhino got between them. Meru looking a little miffed while Naruto looked irritated. You will not interfere in my affairs. Naruto growled. Look, Rhino, is it? She nodded her head. My reasons for fighting Meru has nothing to do with you, so please get out of my way. The girl scoffed. You might have beaten Kyoka and are stronger than Ayane, that does not mean you can handle me. She held her hands up and he saw two people throwing objects to her. Acting quick, he quickly got above her and kicked the items away in a straight split in the air. The fuck, when did he move? One person from the group shouted. How? Naruto landed in front of her in a crouch and without warning rushed upwards and brought a fist inches from her fast. The air blew past her and she could felt her glasses cracking and breaking on her face. But she was focused on his eyes. They were primal, almost like an animal that was denied his food. It was looking into her and she was terrified and for some reason aroused. Don't get a big head, you're just as strong as either Ayane and Kyoka. But your problem is that you lack what they have in certain departments, and that is speed and power. Naruto stood up straight and walked around the girl, leaving her stunned at the turn of events and ignoring the clanking of her weapons on the ground. She had just realized that in less a school year he did something she didn't. He defeated all the dragons. He was the strongest in the school next to Meru and thus made it his divine right that he would rule. She couldn't fathom it He didn't want to believe it, but her mind was forcing her to accept what happened. Impressive. Meru smirked at him, happy to finally see Rhino get taken down a peg and show how different her strength is compared to real fighters. While Rhino was talented, Meru had fought real warriors and people that were insanely strong. She fought adults that would have killed her if she hadn't been strong. Knowing this, she held back in school to not hurt anyone and developed a second style based on video games. But now stood before her someone that could force her real style out, someone that could push her to finally bare her fangs again. Man. Turning back, everyone saw him crack his neck. I'm fucking pissed. Listen, Meru. He looked her dead in the eyes. I want to fight you more than ever, but not here and not today. Ah, you got me worked up for nothing. She pouted and was throwing her airs up in a tantrum, and Naruto snickered. He would have done the same thing if the roles were reversed. I'm just saying I want a better scene. In 3 days, I want 3 days to prepare for our fight, and you can pick the site of our battle. Meru jumped. You're so on. 3 days meet at the school's arena. You and I are going to go all out to determine who is the strongest, the demon or the tiger. I promise you one thing, Naruto. She had fire in her eyes and a tiger formed behind her with golden eyes and dark fur. I'm not going to hold back, and I'm going to see if you have what it takes to face the world. I'm looking forward to it. Naruto's aura took the form of the Kyuubi, and both beasts glared down the other. The two stared each other down while the crowd watched in awe. The biggest fight in the school's history was about to unfold. Next day, Naruto was in the training grounds. He was hidden. The boulders around him and pushing his body to the absolute limit. Thanks to Kyuubi, he would heal from all of his injuries long before his fight with Meru, which meant he could go all out. He was doing all his regular exercises while practicing all the moves of the Nico style with his clones, along with his versatility in mastering the other martial arts that he learned over the years. You can come out. Naruto looked at a nearby rock pillar and saw out of the shadows came Kyoka. It would seem you are really fit compared to most of the nobodies in this school. It was true, without a shish. IRT on Naruto had his body on display, and it was quite impressive. While he was not as bulky as his master, he was slimmer in build to the point that his muscles seemed more compact and streamlined. His abs were rock hard. Chest was slightly bulkier than most and had muscles on his arms that were well defined. His legs shared similar characteristics to his arms, with his calves being slightly above average in muscular size. Well, this is what happens when you spend most of your life training your ass off. Especially with my master. He made sure I knew hard work above all else and trained me to T. I was vomiting more days than not. Kyoka raised an eyebrow at this but did not press, seeing a slightly nostalgic smile on his face. So I heard about your fight with Meru. Yeah, it is in TW. Oh days, so I'm getting all the training I can to be ready. Plus I heal faster than most, so I'm pushing myself as hard as I can. I see. Kyoka smiled. You should know the whole school is going to be watching. Really? Naruto saw Kyoka nod her head. You got to understand this fight. It is the biggest fight in the school's history. You, a man that showed up and not only defeated me on the first day, made one dragon your student. And even outmatched another dragon. Doing all of this before even the first semester is so impressive. Then you have Meru, who was considered the strongest outside the dragons and someone that is feared among even our peers for her amazing talent. She then shivered. To think her fighting style was only her way of holding back from hurting students too much. It shish. OWS me, how far I still have to go before I can claim the title of the strongest of all. Naruto laughed a bit. Yeah, I get all that. Kyoka then pointed at him. You are the only man that has ever defeated me. So I don't want you losing to anyone else, got it? Not this fight or any fight after this one. You remain undefeated until the day I come to fight you as your equal. We'll see about that. Naruto turned around and with one swift twitch of his foot sent several pebbles into the air. Turning all the stones into dust. Well, I just wanted to wish you luck and show someone here. Turn. In his head he saw she pointed at Samui, who was smiling at him. I see. Naruto sighed before focusing on the lightning kunoichi in her slightly tighter than normal white top. Look, as much as I want to believe this stupid marriage arrangement, I don't approve. I want to keep control of my own life, and I'm not planning on appeasing people from the past. Plus I'm not sure I'm the son of the fourth Hokage, because if I was, I should have found out a long time ago. That's cool, I'm just here to watch you train and try to get to know you. Whether you believe it or not, we are engaged and your father really is Minato Namikaze. Maybe, but I won't believe it until I hear it from someone that knew them and that knows me. Naruto glared. No offense, I stopped taking people at face value since I was a little kid. Samui nodded her head, hearing all the stories about his past from the Raikage. Honestly, it horrified her knowing what he went through and everything that he suffered shortly after his teammate left the village and he had to bring him back. The fact that the village still was defending the fucking Uchiha was disgusting, and she can't be happier that they finally changed their policy to almost kill on sight. Naruto slammed his fist into a boulder and shattered it. He could only imagine how intense their fight is going to be, and it was getting him really worked up at this point. So much so the girls noticed he was ignoring them for fighting a couple of shadow clones and then climbing up rock pillars without chakra. They shrugged their shoulders and watched him going at it. Kyoka turned to Samui. So you really are his fiancé now? Yep, it is pretty cool if you ask me, given that he is not like most men that just want me for one thing. She motioned to her breasts while Kyoka laughed. I feel you, after a while it gets really annoying. But her friendly smile turned predatory. But you should know one thing, I don't plan to lose. Oh, Samui raised an eyebrow at her comment. Yep, I plan on taking Naruto myself. Few men in my life have shown the guts or skill to fight me on even footing. Hell, I would say that there are almost none that have come forward in these last few years. But he didn't hesitate fighting the strongest in the entire school and just came forward. Then to feel sweet defeat at his hand was bitter but amazing that it made me wonder more about him. That is why, I will not let him get away, I will make him mine. She glared at her. No matter whom I have to go through to get to him. That's cool. Samui smiled slightly. You should know that I'm not his only fiancé. There are others and most of them are coming to see Naruto in the near future. I just got here sooner. Kyoka's eyes turned sharp. Really now? How interesting. But it doesn't matter to us. Samui smiled. It is quite common for harems to form in our country for near-extinct bloodlines. In Naruto's case, he is the last of two mighty clans or families in your terms. It is his responsibility to revive the family as much as he can, meaning taking as many wives as he can possibly handle. Kyoka stared in shock. That was seriously old school, but she could deal with it. NCE, there are things her family does that is still traditional in its own right. But she smiled. That's fine with me, but you should know if there is going to be one top woman, I plan to be her. You can try. Samui had lightning dancing off her fingers and glared darkly, but you will fail, I promise you this. A lighting dragon formed behind Samui while a Chinese dragon with black and blue scales appeared behind Kyoka. The two had a tense stare down, with Naruto none the wiser this was going on behind him. 2 days later, Naruto stood in the middle of a giant arena. It was huge, it matched most sporting arenas that he had seen while traveling outside the elemental nations. The lighting, the feeling, and the fact that he could feel the sand on the ground making his footing hard to place. Naruto decided against the school uniform or anything flashy, just wearing a pair of long pants and barefoot. He had no shirt on, showing off his chest and back to the rest of the crowd, making some of the girls go crazy at the sight of an in-shape teen. Naruto stared straight, preparing himself for the intensity of this fight and wanting to get started as soon as possible. The funniest thing is that he knew there are cameras on him right now, and he found that to be very annoying. That's right, apparently they were broadcasting their fight for the world to see, surprising him that they would do something this over the top. But he was not allowed to contemplate this much longer until he heard his teacher standing in the arena wearing a tight and short-looking referee outfit coming up with a microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, it begins. The fight of the decade and the most important fight in our school's history. We determine who is the strongest fighter in our school. She waved her right arm to him. Introducing first the man that has taken the school by storm by defeating the 3 dragons, defeating anyone that has gotten in his way, and the man that is known as a master of a long-forgotten martial arts. The man hailing from the elemental nations, Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. The arena exploded in cheers, and Naruto could only slightly sweat drop due to the fact they insist on adding the Namikaze thing to his last name. His opponent, 3rd year, who is feared among the students as the only non-dragon that could become the strongest in the school's history. She is known as the gaming otaku that will become a gaming god and herald as the last student of the famous Tiger Arts. She is heralded as the strongest youth. Please welcome the one, the only Meru. The entire arena exploded in cheers. Out the opposite side of the arena came Meru, but unlike before, she was not smiling or wearing the school uniform. Meru was dressed in a torn-sleeve white GI pants that were torn at the ankles. And she had tape both on her wrists and ankles. Her hair was done up in a single top knot bun to prevent it from getting in her way. But it was the look in her eyes, the intensity behind the gaze. Meru had eyes focused on Naruto and he saw them turn gold with slits in them. Ladies and gentlemen, the fighters have made it to the arena. They are standing here facing each other down, and you can feel the intensity between these two combatants. Naruto and Meru walked up to each other slowly until they were standing inches from each other. Hey, Naruto smiled at Meru who looked confused, thanks for agreeing to fighting me. Meru laughed a bit, trust me I feel the same way, I'm looking forward to this fight. Long time since I could go all out and I can't wait. She then turned serious in her gaze and Naruto matched it. Go all out or I promise you'll regret failing to entertain me. Ladies and gentlemen, they are ready. Now the question is, are you all ready? The crowd roared to life, with many watching this fight with great intent. Kyoko was sitting with her crew watching unwavering, but if one looked closer they could see the lust in her eyes of the idea of fighting either of them and matching their strength. Ayane was sitting with her team and also having an intense stare, hoping for the best for her master and to see more of his power firsthand. Rhino, she was focused on this fight and gritting her teeth. To lose yesterday in the way she did was humiliating, and worse, he never really hit her physically. But now she gets to see the real Meru, as she hinted that she never saw, and neither did her sister. She was eager. In the rafters hiding in the shadows was a silver-haired woman with a large weapon at her side watching the fight. Her green eyes staring down at Meru. So this is the you I never got to see, huh? How interesting, you truly are the strongest youth, old friend. She smiled and watched closely to see why the world is interested in the man before Meru. On Onyo, their side of Japan, was a family who was watching the fight. They had lac surrounding it and they were watching the match. Gigi, why are we watching this fight? Simple dear, I want you to see the strongest youth and the last tiger that we have seen in ages. I understand her, but what about the boy? The old man crushed his pipe before picking up another one. Don't worry, the boy will be a good meal for the tiger, that is all. Okay Gigi. The old man could see her focusing on the teen in the arena and was thinking of killing him, dared to come near his granddaughter. But for some reason he wouldn't shake the feeling he has seen him or someone like him before. Back at the school in the high booth sat three people. One person was Kyoko's mother and she was entertaining some guests in the form of a really old man with a long white beard, long white hair going down his back, and a cane. Behind him was several men wearing suits, each positioned to protect the old man. Well, all but one man, who had short black hair and pale skin with narrow eyes and a large muscular structure. I'm glad you could come to see this. The old man laughed. I wouldn't have missed this for the world. To Thin K, the young girl that competed for you in the Kengan Annihilation tournament all those years ago, would appear here again. I couldn't pass up on the chance of seeing her. The youngest competitor in his Tori and the biggest underdog the tournament had ever seen. Kagami laughed with a fan in front of her face. Indeed, you mocked me all those years ago for picking her at the age of 15 for the tournament. Ha 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 ha. I did, and I regret it. I was excited to see what she could have done in the tournament finals, but sadly she was too tired to continue and thus leaving us without a finals. Yes, how sad. She turned the pale man that was staring down in the arena. What about you, Ajito? How do you feel about winning without fighting her? The man continued staring into the arena, not flinching at the question. Slowly giving a response. I believe she has grown much stronger in this time, but I feel this fight will be greater than anything we could have had together. The old man laughed. Indeed so. Then, he gained white eyes and shouted, I can't wait, let's get this match started. Of course, Mr. Katahara. She looked down in the arena. Good luck, Naruto, hope you pull through this fight. Ajito, however, was not watching Meru anymore, but he was watching the teen she was facing. Something about him put him on edge and he did not know what it was. Was there some familiarity? If so, then where? Where did he get this feeling from before? In another balcony in the shadows where no one could see them, stood a large man with a dark grin on his face. So you finally have come. Put on a good show, grandson. After all, you're just like me, a monster without an equal in sight. Naruto and Meru continued to stare each other down until finally the teacher shouted. Fighters, take your stances. Naruto got into his traditional bouncing stance and Meru got into her tiger stance, fingers out and ready to strike and knees slightly bent and her slightly hunched over. Now begin. The minute the referee lowered her hand and signaled the beginning of the fight, both fighters took off in a dash. Meru, without waiting, threw out a straight while Naruto counters with his own. But what most did notice is that they adjusted their heads slightly and moved out of the range of the other's punch. Missing their strike, both stood there facing down the other while the audience saw the shockwaves that came off the strikes. Naruto glared and Meru returned the glare. Without warning, they pulled their fists back and threw their lead hands. Due to the timing, both fists clashed with the other, creating a large explosion of power. Naruto retracted his fist quickly and threw a quick front body kick, sending Meru backwards, leaving a small skid behind. Naruto quickly moved in on her, but Meru reacted with a flying spinning roundhouse to the head. Naruto ducked the kick, but she came down with a powerful downward straight. This strike hit the ground with Naruto pushing backwards, making him see her at the earth underneath her in the attack. Naruto glared. He took his bouncing stance and smiled. "You're good." Meru smiled. "You too. First time in a long time someone managed to avoid all of my strikes, or at least match them blow for blow." She glared. "But this is where things get real." Meru quickly took a new stance, this time being lower to the ground than she already was. Her hands in front of her face, with her gaining a bit of a bounce in her step as well. Without a moment of hesitation, Meru was on top of him, throwing a right hook at his head. Naruto moved to block the strike, but the she ducked deeper into his guard and grasped her arms around his legs. "Fuck a grapple." Without warning, Meru clasped her hands behind his knees and pulled him forward with her, pushing downward. This led to him crashing into the ground with a thud and kicking up dust. Amazing, ladies and gentlemen. Meru has managed to get this fight to the ground after an amazing bout of them trading blow after blow with one another in the stand-up. Does this signal that Meru is getting ready to end this fight? In the booth, Ajito was watching, his eyes trained on both fighters and noticing small things that others were missing. That boy, he lifted his head at the last second. Remembering clearly, in the moment where he was going down, he tried to tuck his head upward to avoid having his head bounce off the ground. Which was a smart move to avoid having his head ringing after the takedown and allowing his opponent the upper hand. However, Meru made a critical mistake. Back on the arena floor, Naruto smiled. "Thanks for this." Meru frowned. "Huh." Naruto with practical ease slipped his upper body up and grabbed her right arm. There he gripped at the wrist with one arm over her shoulder and the other wrapping on her wrist. Leaning back, he pulled her arm with him, making her curse. "Kimura." Ajito nodded his head. That was a proper counter, and now we can see how Meru will react. Katahara looked at Ajito. "You seem to know the ground game was going to play in at some point, Ajito." The Fang of Matsudo smiled. "Of course, after all Meru would have had to fight me, meaning she would have to be ready for a ground fight at some point. However, you can see the level difference in their ground attack." Ajito smiled slightly, watching Naruto wrenching on the Kimura, which ultimately led to Meru trying to lessen the pressure on her shoulder by rolling onto that shoulder. However, this led to her being flipped and Naruto being on top in the mounted position. Impressive. These two easily give even Cosmo and my trouble on the ground with how hard they are working. Kyoka's mom smiled and laughed. "Yes indeed, that is why I chose her in the past, but now Naruto is proving more than a worthy match for her in this fight." Quote, "Indeed." Katahara watched as Naruto started his next move. Naruto, seeing that he had Meru pinned on the ground, quickly began wailing down strikes on her face, making Meru cover up from the blows, but some were getting through her guard. Naruto soon split her guard with a well-placed feint on the next ground strike, which she dropped her guard afterwards, leading to him splitting her open with a well-placed elbow strike. Right above her right eye, blood started flowing down her face, causing it to leak into her eye. Meru finally gritted her teeth. Enough. She used the power of her hips and bounced him off her body and back into a standing position. Amazing. After a brutal onslaught from Naruto on the ground, from the transition to the ground and pound, Meru is now bleeding. More so, it would seem that she has gotten out from underneath Naruto's much larger frame and is standing tall. Naruto, seeing this, frowned. "She is stronger than she looks, Espec. I ally, since I have to outweigh her for about 10 to maybe 30 pounds at the most." How strong is Meru to do something like that with nothing more than the strength of her back and hips? Naruto soon took his stance again but saw that Meru was before and took a new stance. This one confused him a bit as her lead hand was scrunched up in the shape of a claw hand. Her back hand was facing palm up with fingers scrunched up in a claw shape as well. The strangest part of her stance was that she is balancing on the tips of her toes with her heels off the ground. Alright, it looks like I can't play around with you. Meru grinned darkly and soon her aura exploded to life, so let me start using my real stance. Agito smiled darkly. Now I get to see the tiger again, how exciting. Wonder how the boy is going to adapt to this problem. Katahara smiled. Indeed, the tiger seems ready to pounce now. In another region the family from before was watching the fight and the girl was watching closely. She had a small blush appearing on her face when watching the boy fight. He is strong grandfather. Indeed, the man had a vein bursting on his head from the sheer fact this bastard was seducing his granddaughter without knowing it. But now this is where the boy shall lose. After all, the tiger is about to come out and devour him. Yeah, but I have to admit this guy would be fun to kill personally. The family sighed hearing a blonde-haired man with the same dark eyes and a sadistic smile on his face looking at the screen with pure bloodlust. Rayan, don't make unneeded comments. Shut up, uncle. Enough all of you. The old man watched with a glare. The boy will fall now, that is all that matters. The rest of the clan watched wondering if what the old man was telling the truth. Back in the arena, Naruto looked at Meru and saw her change of stance and knew right away this is her using her true martial arts. The tiger-style karate. From what he guessed, she was going to use her fingers to cut and stab him while her toes are meant to push off in bursts of. Naruto felt a cut on his chest and grimaced. Fuck, stay focused, Naruto. Naruto quickly threw a right but she was out of range of the strike before coming back and slashing at his stomach. Naruto grimaced from this pain and threw a knee at her face. On instinct the girl was up in the air and slamming her knee into his jaw, sending his head up. But before he could react, she brought her elbow down on his face, sending him down onto the ground, with one knee touching. Meru acting on this moment slashed him across the face, causing a spray of blood. Naruto quickly leapt away from Meru and opened her eyes, seeing that he didn't lose his vision. Okay, by the feel of the cut it is shallow, so that means she is going to try and see you. Tee me up, or she didn't get enough of a swing on the movement. Naruto stood back to his feet and watched her, but again she was gone in a blur and was underneath him. Not this time. Naruto threw a knee at Meru to make her act, which she did by trying the same move from before. But Naruto backed away from the leaping knee to the face and loaded up his right hand. But he found a foot in his face, sending skidding backwards. Then without warning he felt something pierce his left shoulder before cutting his chest again. Naruto on instinct threw a front kick to the body again, but again the target was not there. Looking at his shoulder where he was stabbed he was shocked. It looked like she jammed her fingers completely through the muscles and almost down to the bone. The cut on his chest was hollow again, but the pain was starting to settle in, and while he knew he could heal thanks to Kurama, he refused to use him in this fight. He needed to be prepared for fights when he can't rely on him. And when he might not be able to heal fast enough from the damage done to his body. Naruto got in his stance, shoulder sore from the stabbing, and balancing himself again. Meru smirked. She charged Ain, and this time Naruto felt the direction she is coming from and lashed out. The right cross was infused with his adamantine form, thus enhancing the physical damage that could be done. However, to his and everyone's shock, Meru had weaved her way around the punch and appeared at his side. Without warning she slammed her right fist into his ribs. Tiger secret art. Explosive fist strike. Naruto felt it, his entire insides exploding at once, the blood pouring out of his mouth and him being sent flying across the arena with ease. He rolled on the ground and coughed up more blood on the ground. His wounds spreading out more and more blood. The arena was shocked by the level of damage. Kyoko was unnerved, Rhino shocked, and Ayane scared for Naruto. This level of power, it is insane. Is this what Meru was really capable of? The tiger really was the strongest the school has ever seen. Kyoko was shaking, fearing for Naruto and the fact that she never was worthy of seeing her full power. This is the power my sister couldn't reach. It is unreal. Was my destiny to rule this school never possible? Master, is this too much even for you? At the home of the Japanese family they were watching the fight getting more and more gruesome. The girl was shocked by the level of power of the girl and the difference between her and the boy. If she was honest, his strength equaled most of the clan and even surpassed her. The girl on the other hand was showing power greater than even her grandfather in his prime. It is over. The old man blew smoke and sighed. The boy put up a good opening. Fight with her, but there is no way he can defeat the tiger. I fear that his effort was all for nothing. This fight has only confirmed my suspicions that she is truly the strongest of her generation. Grandfather, look. The old man looked at a largely poor man in the family and he was pointing at the TV. The man looked and was shocked. Impossible. There is no way he could be doing this. Back in the arena, Ajito was watching and soon the hair on the back of his neck was standing on its ends. More for the fact, he sensed something was off with the fight, something deeply terrifying, but he was not sure what. Oh my, it would seem the fight is reaching its conclusion. I wouldn't bet on that, Mr. Matsudo. The old man looked at his fighter and one of his dear friends. Oh, what makes you? He looked down and his eyes widened before smiling. I see what you mean. This fight is just getting more and more interesting as time goes on. Back on the floor, Meru was standing still watching as her opponent hit the ground with a thud. While she could sense his pulse, she felt this fight was over. So dropping down on her heels she turned. You were strong, stronger than most but sadly not strong. Suddenly the hair on the back of her neck shot up. What the hell? Turning her head she is shocked and the rest of the arena shared the same expression of surprise. More so, what was going on with the teen in question? Naruto down on his face, he coughed up some blood and could feel his vision blurring. What is this? Is this defeat? Kit, Kurama, what is it? Kid, listen to me yourself. Earring, major bleeding and damage to your body. If this continues you might just die from the injuries alone. Please let me heal you now. Hey, no, I won't allow this. I have to fight on my own strength and no one else. Otherwise how can I reach them? Kid, listen to me, you're doing your master and the third great joy in your improvement, but it won't end the way they want if you die here now because of your pride. Pride, that's right. Naruto's vision started blurring. He could see himself as a child and him standing there watching a crowd walking away from him. I never had anything, nothing to be prideful for. Nothing to believe in, nothing to stand for. He then saw the Hokage and he smiled to the child while sitting on the mountain with a smile on his face. That's when he taught me the will of fire. How it burned brighter in me than anyone before me. How I wanted to use this will of fire to make my own path in this world. To make people respect me and do anything to earn their trust. Naruto soon saw himself fighting Sasuke and barely beating him. That damn mission cost me everything. It got to the point that I was tired of throwing my life away for others that would never respect or trust GHTING for a place that didn't want or believe in me. Naruto gripped the ground and was gathering dust into his fist and could feel his back contorting slightly. Unknown to him, a man in the shadows was watching with a smile on his face and he was starting to release his aura at the sight of his back. Then I met him, my teacher. Naruto saw Nico standing there with a smile on his face and him motioning for him to come at him. He took a child with no hope or future and taught him something precious to him and made him feel like something was worth fighting for. He taught him the important lesson of finding your own ambition and striving for it more than anything else, even if others don't understand. Naruto felt a blur coming over him. His mind was growing fuzzier and fuzzier, but he recalled a single memory. Naruto, what is it that you want to accomplish for yourself? Something that means the world to you and would be proud to achieve it. My dream. I don't know, but I guess if I have to be selfish, I want. Naruto stood tall and in his mind he screamed. To be the strongest in the world, to be the strongest in the world. Meru didn't know what happened, but 1 minute it would seem Naruto was out cold. But then he stood up and she saw that something had changed about him personally. She was not sure what. But after watching his back shift around for a bit she was sure something was up. So getting in her stance she waited for him to stand up. In doing this she charged him. In this charge, she blurred to hit him in the face again with her claw strike. The arena the people watching saw Meru approach and then get blown away with a powerful blow. She was flying through the air and having to flip and rebalance herself after landing on the ground. Looking up, everyone saw her right cheek was swollen and blood was seeping out of her mouth. The fuck? Agito smiled darkly. So I was right, he is like us. Katahara laughed. Yes he is, it is terrifying how he is with the rare breed of monsters like yourself and him. It is more interesting now than ever before. At the house the old man sat down in shock. It can't be, he is from that damn bloodline. Huh, Gramps, what's wrong? Yeah, what's so scary about him? I mean, he landed a hit but. Silence, Rhiannon. He glared at the house and his granddaughter. Look at that man's evil back. The sign is there. The clan looked but most didn't get it, minus the older ones who know what he was talking about. The audience on the other hand was freaking out how his body was contorting in ways that hold not be physically possible for a human. His back turning into something akin of a demon mask, terrifying the shit out of everyone in attendance of the match. The man in the shadows laughed. So you finally did it. Not even my sons have achieved it yet, but you somehow have surpassed them in every shape, way, form. I can't wait to see what happens when you fully awaken and control it. Standing there, Naruto, his eyes were vacant white, but what really scared everyone was the demonic smile on his face. He looked like someone that was enjoying this feeling of death and destruction, Agito's evil smile in Kengan Ashura. So you, Meru didn't have time to make a comment when suddenly Naruto was on top of her. She quickly pushed back on her toes, but Naruto was still on top of her. Fuck, his speed increased, but how? I was faster a few sec. She ducked under a powerful swing. It was wild compared to what his form was earlier. It was as if he had no real form or style anymore and was just going through the motions. But she quickly capitalized on his opening by jumping up in the hopes of hitting him in the face with a powerful knee strike again. But before it can land, Naruto brought on his other fist and sent her into the floor with a thud, cracking the ground underneath her. Naruto laughed at the pain she was in and soon slammed his other fist down, but Meru blocked this one. She noticed the power coming from him now. It was beyond anything she had felt before, with it causing her arms to bruise and her entire body to feel heavy from the impact of the strike. Meru pushed him back with a mule kick to his stomach, giving her time to jump to her feet and get back in her stance. But when she did, she was shocked to see Naruto had taken a new stance, and this one was infuriating to say the least. Holy shit, Naruto's is using Meru's stance. The person that yelled this was right. Naruto was balancing now on his toes, heels off the ground, hands in a claw-shaped form, but with the same bloodthirsty smile on his face. So you want to test your skills in the art of the tiger, huh? Let's see what you got, poser. Meru's eyes turned to slits and she was gone in a faster blur than before. Naruto smiled at her approach and without warning was gone as well. But this time, people could only see them clashing in small blurs before Naruto managed to slam into her and pierce her shoulder. Meru coughed up some blood from the attack but quickly aimed her unimpaled arm at his face again. But Naruto took the Meru's shoulder that he pierced and threw her across the arena before appearing above her with a rolling axe kick to the face, slamming her into the ground with a thud. Naruto took off in a mad dash and landed away from her again, taking up the same stance as before. Meru stood up, coughing up blood, shocked about how strong Naruto was and terrified about something. In less than a few minutes, he mastered the same moves and techniques that I demonstrated against him. How is it possible that someone can achieve such level of power and skill with such ease? Something evil has changed about Naruto, but what? Naruto on the other hand was on top of her again, and cutting her to pieces with his own claw hands and making her scream from the pain and trying to counter. But sadly the movements were limited and she soon found her legs and arms almost reduced to sliced shreds. While this fight is going on, Kurama inside of his head was watching Naruto slowly slip deeper into some kind of water. They were not sure what it was, but something about it was dragging him deeper and deeper into some form of madness. He was whispering about power, strongest, killing, and this greatly disturbed the fox. It tried to wake him up, but the bars prevent them from helping him. Naruto felt more and more of his sanity slipping before finally feeling someone grabbing him. They dragged him out of the water and back to the surface. Whoa kid, it would seem you really became strong right now, huh? Turning his head, Naruto's eyes watered. Nico-sensei, The brown hair man wearing the traveler's cloak smiled down at the teen. Hey kiddo, it's been a. Naruto ran up to the man and hugged him tightly. He was confused until he saw the tears coming down the teen's face and smiled, before hugging the teen back. While he was not the most affectionate to people, he knew that the teen needed this right now. Master, please forgive me for being so weak that I couldn't fight by your side. Kiddo, it's fine, I fought and lost, that is all there is to it. He pushed the teen away while smiling. But look at you kiddo, almost as tall as me. You must be a hit with the ladies these days, huh? Naruto laughed. I guess, I've gotten really strong since your passing and found my goal in life. Oh, what is it? Naruto smiled at him. I want to become the strongest in the world, something that no one or no creature can possibly match or defeat. Nico laughed. Whoa kid, you really are shooting high there, huh? He ruffled his head. With the Nico style you will achieve this, no doubt. He smiled before looking down at the dark water below. I figured this would happen sometime in the future. What are you talking about? Do you know what has happened to me? He smiled and continued rubbing his head. I do kid, this is something called the Demon Awakening. It is a rare trait T. Had some people of the martial arts gain depending on lineage, mind, and how they train. It enhances all of their physical abilities to almost superhuman levels, and sometimes even they're basically strong to begin with. However, yours seems to unlock a rare trait in the Demon's Awakening called Evolve. Evolve. It's something you'll come to understand in time. But for now we have to get your back to reality. What? Now? But I still haven't. Kid, listen to me. Naruto looked at him and saw a sad smile on his face. I was a lot of things in my life, but there is one thing I take the most pride in being. That is your teacher. After all, you took to my teachings and became something of a son to me. So is my son. Trust me when I say I will always be watching over you. I mean we both will. Lu King. Behind him he saw an old man smiling at him and cried. Gigi. The old man smiled ghostly. Go Naruto-kun, we'll be watching. Naruto nodded his head and turned away with both of them pushing on his back. Go forth Naruto and show the world your will. Naruto felt his conscious return. He was standing there in the arena with a badly injured Meru and himself feeling his injuries. His back had U.N. tightened and the audience saw his demeanor change again and thus shocked to see him being more calm than before. Hey Meru, want to finish this fight now? Meru was shocked but smiled. Yeah, I can see. You're on your last legs and I'm in the same condition. So tightening her muscles she quickly and made a mad dash at Naruto. But when she threw her fist she shouted. Tiger hit an art. Explosive fist strike. The hit landed on his face this time around, but unlike the previous attempt, Naruto started changing the direction of the attack in mid-hit. Soon he went slightly limp, allowing the flow of the move to go through his body. Before taking a step and channeling all the power into his body along with his own and then using his final form, the adamantine form, sending the blow back. In that short second Naruto had taken her strike but sent her flying backwards with a brutal counter with his offhand. This led to her crashing across the arena and embedding herself into the wall without resistance. The explosion was massive and the entire arena shook from the impact, with a small crater created with Meru deep inside. But when people looked closer, varying reactions came from it. Agito was grinning darkly. Katahara was smiling brightly. Kyoka's mom smiled while breathing a sigh of relief. Kyoka was cheering along with Ayane. Rhino was gritting her teeth in frustration. The family that was watching were in mixes of shock, devastation of the power, confusion, and in one person's case, flustered. The girl watching was smiling and nodding her head. It would seem that the title of the Strange Street has now gone to someone else, and honestly he is worthy successor to this title. The man in the shadow sighed. Well, it would seem that you made some great strides, kid. Hope to see you get stronger. As I truly believe you are the one that can give the greatest joy of the hardest fight of my life. Come and get me when you're ready to become the strongest in existence. The man walked away, but was G1 in a blur, no sign of him even being there, but if one would have noticed, the man's dark red hair dropped a strain on the ground. Back in the arena, Naruto was standing there exhausted and bleeding. But he raised his right hand into the air with it covered in blood, showing clearly the fist itself was damaged or at least broken. It's over everyone. The fight has ended with the victory of the demon. He has claimed the title of the strongest in the school's history and maybe the strongest of all youths of this generation. Naruto smiled at the ceiling, hearing the cheering going and seeing the smiles of his friends, and looking at the booth. A large man smiling down at him nodded his head. Naruto sighed and collapsed to his knees in exhaustion. This is my Nico style. Sure as kid. Turning his head slightly with blood dripping down his face, he could see the ghost of his teacher hovering above him. Nico, it's yours now, Naruto. I'm proud of you, kiddo. Thanks, To-san. Naruto whispered while hearing Nico chuckled. To-san, huh? That's fine with me. Good luck, Sochi. I'll be watching and waiting for the day we meet again. When we meet again, how about we spar? I would like that. To-san, just be ready to lose. Ha 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 ha. That's funny, son, but it's nice to dream, no? The ghost soon disappeared and Naruto cries tears of joy. But the moment was ruined when he saw the fat girl from B4 leaping down into the arena and charging him. She laughed and slung a fist at him. With this, the title of strongest becomes mine. Naruto growled but could feel even with Kurama's healing Hisu Eldent moved to counter or stop the attack. That was until he saw someone holding her arm and it revealed it was a silver-haired girl with green eyes and glaring. Attempt this disgraceful behavior again and I will remove your head personally. Quote. After this, Naruto passed out, leaving the arena to run to his and Meiru's aid. Time skip. Naruto awoken from his sleep groggy. He looked around and saw he was in the nurse's office and that he was covered in medical bandages. Apparently the hole in his shoulder was pretty bad, and if he was honest, it looked like the damage was still there even with Kurama healing it. Looks like I won't be able to fight with this arm for a while. Turning his head, he was shocked to see someone sitting there with a smile on her face. The girl in question was pretty, he would not deny this. She was fairly developed to about a C cup underneath her jacket while having on a black and white school uniform. This girl had long black hair going down her back, and the most shocking feature was her eyes being completely black with gray eye pupils. Hello. Hello there. She rushed up to him and touched his head. It's good to see you awake, Naruto-kun. Thanks, who are you? The girl nodded her head and bowed her head. My name is Carla Kerr and I'm the woman planning on having your future children. Quote ellipsis dot dot. You know that is getting more common these days. So you'll do it? Fuck no. Please let me have your kids. Naruto rolled his eyes at her pleading and just turned to his other side to see an old man with the same eyes looking at him. Glad to see you're awake, I'm your future grandfather-in-law and the head of the Kerr family. I never agreed to that. We have much to discuss in terms of your new engagement to my granddaughter. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Are you even listening to me? Nogi Corporation. A black-haired man with brown eyes was watching the fight between the tiger and this unknown teen and smiling. He was happy something so unique has just happened, and at the same time he sees a video of a black-haired man beating up their company's fighter. I think it is time to start another tournament. Naruto was sitting in the hospital room and just staring at the elderly man sitting in the corner of the room smoking his pipe while having Samui at one side and the other girl at his other side. Naruto was very confused and annoyed that people were ignoring him, and it is something he was growing to hate through his life. So let me get this straight, you're a clan of killers and assassins. Right. The Kerr head smiled and saw no visible reaction. He had a good poker face. You saw my fight with Meiru and decided that you have to have me part of the family. Well, more my dear granddaughter, but I do see the value in adding you to the family. Naruto frowned. Right. He sighed. Feeling the twitching in his arm, he was not sure why the Kyuubi hadn't healed him faster, but he guessed the damage was more severe than he thought. Sir. Sam. Ui stood, and this drew the attention of the Kerr family, which the males tried not to stare at her bouncing chest, and Karura was frowning, looking at her own and comparing. She was sad hers was smaller. But understood there was a reason for it. Naruto-kun is the last of the Uzumaki clan and the Namikaze family. He is required by our traditions to spread his seed to multiple women, including the women that are being offered up to him as wives for the future and betterment of our continent. Lord Kerr waved his hand. Regardless, the boy will mar as long as this is not messed with. I don't care who bed as long as he treats out family with respect. Naruto frown deepened. Are you saying there are more? Yes, Kurtosaki, the daughter of the Tsuchikage, is also being offered up for the marriage arrangement. While she is not able to come at this time, she is more than wanting to take part in the arrangement. Naruto frowned. Right. He sighed. Look, as interesting as this has all been, I haven't T had a single day where I can live my life by my choice. The days that I have not been long, and quite honestly I'm not interested in dating anyone or even having a family. The head of the Kerr family laughed. But of course youth is such a treasured thing, the last thing you want to do is waste it. Please, all we ask is you two marry in the future. Naruto rolled his eyes and laid back in his bed and sighed. One day without something nutty happening. Is that too much for one guy to ask? Samui giggled while Karura smiled and laughed. The Kerr all smiled and Naruto could only sigh. He really hated mornings. Time skip. The head of the Kerr family had left the room and sighed. The boy was something else. Grandfather. Turning his head, he saw one of his grandchildren with red hair and the same eyes as the rest of them staring at him. Why are you allowing this? Allowing what? The marriage. You always were set on having her marry a single person, but now you're saying she can join a harem. What gives? You've killed people for just looking at her the wrong way in the past. The Kerr head sighed harder. Tell me boys, do you know what happened in that match? His back shaped in a weird way. The Kerr head nodded. Yes, those of us that have lived long lives and seen many things, we know what that mark means. For us, it is the marking of a devil being born in this world, Someth. More evil and sinister than anything the Kerr could hope to match. In truth, seeing it aged me because the last time I saw it, I dread remembering it. He rubbed his stomach. It is something I shish to forget, but knowing that he comes from that fucking line, it means that if we dare raise a hand against the boy, there is a chance He will come, and He hates anyone that steals his entertainment away. The rest of the relatives just shrugged their shoulders, but seeing their head walking away and remaining silent, it was clear he was done talking on the matter. But what they missed was the rubbing of his stomach and the haunted look in his eyes, something he hadn't experienced in quite some time. Flashback. It was an easy job for the Kerr family. The current head of the family was hired out to kill the supposed drug lord that was causing problems in Vietnam. Most didn't think much of their actions out here and just assumed they were mercenaries for hire. So the government tried to buy them out, but sadly for them, their price was too much for most of the local warlords. However, they were hired by the US government to assassinate one of the drug lords due to his ties to some of the front lines in Vietnam, and they were more than willing since they were being paid quite well. Ario, he was taking some time away from his friend and his Kengan organization to help out on this job. Il being the Fang had its perks. He can't afford to leave things to just martial art bouts. He needed to keep his skills sharp since he is supposed to be the future clan head of the family. Getting into the facility was easy enough. They had walked up to the gate and he was about to sneak in. But he noticed something off. Inside he saw all the guards were gone, the courtyard was quiet, and the man Sion seemed to have no activity whatsoever. Slowly they maneuvered through the house, leading to them to the front door that was smashed through, and they quickly walked inside, seeing that the guards inside were all dead. Their weapons smashed to pieces, their bodies torn or mangled, and some even missing limbs or their heads. Quite frankly, Ario was somewhat concerned with this mission as someone LSE was here aiming for the same people as them, and he was not sure he wanted to tangle with them. Walking deeper into the manor and heading up the stairs, the men ignored all the dead bodies and soon walked into main office where the door was open. Inside the office he saw something frightening, something that would haunt the Kerr family for life. A tall red-hair man with his hair tied in a ponytail standing there, no shirt, just camo pants and sandals, and he is standing there with his hand through the mouth of the drug lord. His fingers were poking outside the back of the man's head and he just stood there bored. Turning his head he frowns at them. Ario frowned. Who was this man? Asshole. One of the mercs shouted and aimed his gun. You stole the payday for the rest of us. So, you should have been faster. He flung his wrist and sent the man's body crashing into the wall and slowly falling down, smearing it with his blood. Fucker. The mercs around Ario took out their weapons and opened fire on the man, expecting to kill him and thus collecting on the payday. Ario soon found something dripping down his face, and looking down, it was blood. He saw blood covering his face and he was not sure what to make of it. Turning his head slightly, he saw that all the mercs were flying through the air and that the red-haired giant was just flying through the air with his hands around the throats of two of them and some of a pistol in his mouth. He bit down on the pistol, shattering it. Ario, while confident, wasn't sure he could do something similar. Well, now that was cute, but annoying. Dropping the bodies, he shook his hand, sending the blood onto the carpet. He turned his head and smiled. How about it? Want to go a few rounds? Ario frowned. You'll regret this decision. Ario's body started to morph and soon his entire body was purple and veins were running all over his face and body. Oh, the man smiled while having his hands lifted above his head and holding them wide. How fun, show me what you can do. Ario roared and charged the man with him giving that same damn smile. Flash back end. Ario rubbed his stomach. It wasn't a fight. It was a massacre. Nothing he threw at him, nothing he used. No tactic, and no skill or ability, it was all worthless. He just seemed to toy with him for a bit and even allowed him to use weapons and the firearms in the room, along with the room's environment to his advantage, and he still was unfazed. He countered or blocked every move. The fucker even caught a bullet in his teeth before spitting it onto the carpet. Then he sent him flying. Ario never forgot that day and how he was lucky he spared him when he should have killed him. From that day, he knew he witnessed something that would go down in history, and it D. As the man became known as the strongest being in existence. He was terrified of the man and knowing he had another spawn out there and that his granddaughter was interested. Well, what could he say? It was a booming opportunity for them and one that must be treated carefully. He didn't know his feelings for the boy, but if he already was showing the same signs he had at such a young age, then that means it can be either a blessing or a curse. Either way, he was eager to see what the future had in store for him and possibly see some great-grandchildren. Ah, being old is great. Week later, Naruto had finally gotten out of the hospital and was returning to life as a student. He was studying in his classes, having his clones do more studying, replacing the clones that killed themselves when they couldn't take any more studying, and finally working on his martial arts more to make sure he was ready for the future. Surprisingly, Meru stuck around and taught him some of the finer points of her style while giving her blessing that he can use her tiger style as long as he doesn't abuse it. Naruto appreciated but just incorporated a few basic principles of the style into his own, and now he feels his Nico style has evolved even further. Ayane was following him around more often now, making it clear she wants him. Naruto agreed to teach her more but mostly had her working on her power and technique. Mostly, this led to her sparring with Karura, the grandchild of the Kerr family he had come to know, and Samui. Those two were another part of his routine that started appearing, and both of them made it quite clear they are not going anywhere. Naruto just sucked it up and dealt with them. Samui spent time showing Ayane how to manipulate her body against men and how to even use her technique more fluently, while Karura showed her more martial arts skills and helped her learn how to be more powerful through some traditional methods of training. In time, Naruto had gotten used to this route. And the two boys that he hung out with, they were jealous of him, and he stated they shouldn't be considering it was emotionally draining after a few days dealing with this shit. The weirdest thing, I know, but the weirdest shit for him was that Meru's little pet hamster thing was sticking around with him. He was not sure why, but the damn thing seemed to like him, so he didn't mind. It slept in his hair during the school day, and when not there it was playing on his phone. He had gotten the thing at the request of Kyoka and the others, stating he needed to be more tech-savvy about things. He read and got a phone with the money he still had left over from his time there, and thanks to some donations from Konoha. There he had some games added to his phone, and this kept the hamster busy. However, that is not the most important part. What is important is the revelation that the school grades are out and the semester is winding down, with the revelation of who ranked where in the school grades. Naruto looked over the board while the girls were clamoring around them as well. Most are disappointed they are not on the list, while some are happy they didn't make it to this point or another and even some of them are happy with their grades. He looked on the list and smiled. He was ranked first among the first years and was happy to see his perfect score. What do you know, the village idiot managed to become smart. He laughed at his joke while the hamster on his head squeaked out its approval with a bandana on its head reading, "I helped." Naruto, seeing the grades, he saw that Ayane was second but tied with some other girl that he didn't know. He was confused at first, but he didn't pay much mind to it, as he can see that Ayane was academically talented and probably would be the top scorer if he didn't use his clones. Walking away from the board, he started whistling. Well, what should I do today? Squeak. The hamster patted his head. Huh, what do you mean we should go get some video games? Aren't the ones on my phone enough? He never did quite understand how he could translate, but he could, and he rolled with it. Especially since he was used to talking toads. Squeak, squeak. Huh, no way, I have like 4 games on this phone. Pulling his phone out. There's no way you have. On the screen he saw that the 4 games were indeed beaten. But not just beaten, the Hamster put up high-ranking scores in the top 10 internationally. Looking up, he was just showing surprise. I guess you take after your master. Squeak. He puffed out his chest. Naruto shrugged his shoulders. Whatever, I might get you a new game, but I can't promise it is going to be challenging, as those were meant to hold you over. Naruto banged his fist into his open palm. Right, I have to get a copy of my score and send it to Tsunade. She would be proud of this. Naruto smiled and quickly raced to the teacher's lounge. Arriving at the lounge, he talked to a female teacher that he didn't have for homeroom. Excuse me, would it be possible to get a copy of my test scores? The woman looked at him and smiled. Yes, give me 1 minute, Mr. Naruto Uzumaki, ma'am. Naruto wasn't doing the backwards name thing so most in Japan, as it was not common in his nation. The woman ruffled through some documents and found them, and after a few minutes handed him a copy. Here you go, going to show those off? Naruto smiled. Nah, sending it to some family, want them to see my improvements. The woman laughed and Naruto quickly took off out of the office and headed to the roof of the school building. There he looked around and then went through a few hand signs, and there was a cloud of smoke. Appearing in the middle was a small orange toad. Yo, Naruto, good to see you again. Naruto smiled. Hey Gamakichi, it's good to see you too. So how's school been treating you? Pretty good. You get word of that pervert? Gamakichi sighed. Nah, we haven't been able to get a hold of him, that is. Usually Pa and Ma's job, as they were the ones that taught him back in the day. Naruto frowned. Pa and Ma, didn't Jiraiya teach you about them? No, that idiot didn't. Naruto growled. Gamakichi sighed. Yeah, they are the elders among us toads, so they kinda run the clan and are above even my father. Mostly, they are powerful toads and the teachers of some of our more sacred teachings. But Pops runs the clan day-to-day stuff. Naruto nodded his head. They keep the others in check. For the most part, but it is more my Pop that keeps everyone moving and grooving while they step in when necessary or expense wisdom when needed. Naruto nodded his head again and asked, can you ask them to get Jiraiya, as he keeps ignoring my letters and I know he is getting them? Gamakichi saluted. Sure thing, I'll get that done. Also give this to Tsunade, won't you? Gamakichi saw the stack of papers and read them briefly. Whoa, you are the top student. That's impressive, Naruto, I thought you were just an idiot. Naruto laughed. Well, I used the shadow clones to do that for me in the case of studying, but yeah, I did pretty well all things considering. Anyway, I'll get this straight to Tsunade. I am sure she'll be proud, and don't worry, I'll talk to Ma and Pa about this and make sure he answers. Naruto nodded, quickly pulled out some candy, and gave it to him for payment. After he popped away, Naruto sighed and laid down on the roof. So, what to do now? Squeak. Huh, someone's shown up. Sitting up, he turned and saw that he was right. Someone was there and he didn't know them. Jumping to his feet, he smiled. So, got a name, stranger? The person in question was a woman. She had really long red hair tied up in a braid that goes down her back, a short skirt, and wearing tennis shoes. She had on a red long-sleeve jacket and seemed to be unlike most of the girls in this school, not overly busty from the looks of it. So you managed to see me? That is impressive, ASU. Huh. Naruto saw the girl with her hands in her jacket soon lifting up her right leg. Let's see if you can handle this. She threw out a fast kick that he quickly rolled under, and when she came back around she threw a curved roundhouse to his head again. Naruto would just roll under or do a circular rolling of his head to dodge all of her kicks aimed for his head. Not bad speed, pretty good timing, but Naruto GHT one of her kicks and quickly pivoted his foot and sent her flying over his shoulder, forcing her to land on her feet. She stared at him with a stern expression. You are strong, but I will not lose to you, ASU. Naruto raised an eyebrow and got into his stance and waited for her. She quickly rushed at him and threw a barrage of kicks at his head, but he just kept moving his head around to avoid E-kicks before finally throwing a punch at her which she pushed off her pivot leg and dodged the strike. Naruto quickly pivots around and rushes her, which leads to him throwing some powerful strikes at her, and she is just trying to dodge but one nicks her side. Damn. Naruto then slams his elbow into the side of her head, sending her to the ground with a thud and groan. That's it, she glared. Not likely. She quickly spins on her hands and tries to catch him in the spin of her attack. But Naruto quickly jumps away from her. He glares. If you keep pushing this, I might accidentally injure bad enough you'll wind up in the hospital. Quote, she lashed out with a jumping spinning kick in E360 in the air. Naruto ducked under the attack and turned around to where she was going to land. The minute her foot touched the ground, he rushed forward, crashing his entire body into her, sending her flying. She released a large amount of spit from the strike but soon hits the wall with a massive thud. T.S. leads to her falling to her knees and then going face first into the ground. Thanks to the entrance hut that is built to connect the roof to the building, this proved to be the end of the fight and the perfect spot to hit her. Flashing steel, that might have been a bit much in this situation. Squeak. Yeah, I know we got to take her to the infirmary, doesn't mean I have to like it. Naruto sighed. I wanted something to do. And I got it. Fuck, this sucks. Konoha. Tsunade was signing off on the last of her paperwork. She was ecstatic. This meant she would be done for the day and not have to worry about shit. Sadly, her dreams of going home to drink are interrupted when she hears her door open and frowns. Standing there were the elders, Homura, old man with glasses on his face, Kaharu, a woman with her hair in a bun, and Danzo, a man with his head wrapped to cover one eye and his arm covered in a wrap and sling. The three of them just barged into her office whenever they please. And it had become an annoyance she didn't appreciate. Naruto did the same thing from time to time, but that was more for missions and work and to see how she was doing. These assholes did it to annoy her, she was sure of it. Acting as if they are superior to her position, even though the fire daimyo had railroaded all of them a while back for the mess they caused with Naruto. That was a visit she hated the most. What do you three want? I just finished the last of my paperwork and was planning on taking Shizune and my other apprentices drinking. Homura frowned. Her habits were one of the Rizzo-ns. They never approved of her being Hokage. They felt she was unfit, but they didn't dare question the will of Hiruzen or the fire daimyo who had now given his full backing. We wish to speak with you about matters of utmost urgency. Your habit can wait, she sighed. If this is about talking to our lord about Sasuke, forget it. He has made it clear he won't change his mind, and he made it doubly clear that if we continue to try, our heads are going to start rolling. I don't care about you three in the slightest, but I like my head where it is. Be that as it may be, Kaharu interrupted, we Saint speak to him. It is unbelievable his treatment of Sasuke. He is the last loyal Uchiha and should know that Orochimaru had a hand in his betrayal. If we just get him back and remove the snake, he would see that he is a good boy and loyal. You're shitting me, right? Tsunade snorted. You do know that the Lord made it quite clear that he didn't give a shit. I mean, he literally said that, and you want to barge into his throne room and argue with him. Feel free, I'll arrange the transport and you can do it on your own accord. Danzo narrowed his eyes. You should take this situation more seriously. Without the Uchiha and the loss of our Jinchuriki, Naruto, I swear to God, if you call him by his title again, I will kill you here and now. Tsunade was staring the three of them down. She was daring them to even try her. She was hoping they would be stupid enough to try her. Regardless of how you feel about the boy, our village has weakened due to this and we are facing a new crisis. We must solve these matters. He slammed his cane to expand on his point, immediately. He is right. Homura sighed. The boy has always been trouble. Kaharu snorted. Yes, if Hiruzen would just have listened, maybe he would still be alive. Suddenly a crack was heard and everyone turned their attention to the window and saw Jiraiya glaring at them. Don't you fucking dare lay Sensei's death at his feet. Don't you fucking dare blame him for being human enough to care for a child who wanted love. Don't you fucking dare disgrace my sensei, Naruto's grandfather, in using him as a way to justify your own sick, twisted fantasies. Jiraiya had been listening in, and he had enough of people using his sensei to justify their notion of Naruto and how he was mistaken in his care and treatment. Agreed. Tsunade glare hardened. Be that as it may. Homura coughed and Danzo glared. we must assess the situation. Without the Uchiha we must consider drastic measures if necessary. I suggest we return Itachi to the village. First of all, he slaughtered his clan without warning, and even after learning the truth of the massacre, we all know that his return would be impossible anyway. Tsunade then held a second finger. Secondly, ever since the Akatsuki was wiped out no one has seen him. Rumors are flying here and there but there is no sign of him. You want to waste your time looking for him, go ahead, but he is not returning to this village, as all that will do is bring a pissed off child to our door, and I don't want to be staining my fist with more Uchiha blood than I need to. If not that we need to get Sasuke back. Tsunade rolled her eyes. Go jump off a cliff, this discussion about Sasuke is over. Danzo glared but sighed. Very well then, the matter of the Jin. Say his fucking name. He glared at Jiraiya. How dare he make demands of him? Naruto. He spat with sarcasm, almost having Jiraiya jump him. But Tsunade stopped him. His departure from the village is problematic. Not only has he abandoned his duties to the village and spit on the memory Hiruzen left for him, but he has also traveled to some unknown land with people we don't know and might never return. He slammed his cane to emphasize the issue and take command, which is why we must bring him back to the village and lock him up until we can produce an heir and thus have the Biju sealed into them instead and trained as they need to be. Homura and Kaharu were nodding their heads and talking about it, but Tsunade. She just grabbed Danzo by his coat and threw him into the wall. He coughs up blood and tries to get up, but he finds Anbu surrounding him and sees them with their weapons out and Homura and Kaharu in the same situation. First, she growled, we told you to talk about Naruto as a person, as that is what he is. He is a child and a person. Second, you dare to use our sensei again after we told you not to and tarnish the relationship they fucking had. And finally you fucking dare make orders of me in the village. She shook her head. I'm tired of every asshole with a bit of money and people with lack of sense making order of me. I'm tired of people taking shots Naruto for his own choices and thinking. And finally I'm sick and tired of every fucking asshole coming into my office and making demands and requests about both of them every fucking day. She turned to the Anbu, take all three of them to Ibiki and make sure he has the time of his life tearing their minds apart. I don't care what he learns, just do it with Inoichi there as well. This is to serve as a warning. You can't do this. You'll find I can. Homura. Tsunade snapped her fingers. That reminds me, Danzo, you should know that we found out about your route and what they did. Believe me, you should be grateful that Jiraiya killed them all minus the children after he destroyed your bases. His eyes widened. That was this fool. You know. Jiraiya looked at his nails in boredom. I wonder what would happen if Naruto were to find out what you did. I mean, the kid already lost someone that was a grandfather to him and you then rob him of a father figure. Geez, I'm pretty sure if he found out you were responsible for his death, oh boy, he smiled. There'd be nothing left of you. Danzo growled and tried to free himself but was quickly knocked out along with the other elders and dragged out of the office into the interrogation room. Jiraiya sighed. Geez, those idiots. Tsunade sighed. Yeah, but either way, at least we now have one less issue without Root around. Yeah, but there is hell to pay if Naruto finds out. Sure will be. Tsunade stood up. Well, I'm thirsty, want to Jiraiya, I'm inviting my disciples. Well, I be a fool to turn that down. Both were about to leave until they see smoke appear on her desk. In the form of Gamkachi and two new toads. Both had elderly looks, with one being green with yellow eyes and a staff while the other being purple and yellow with a staff as well. Ma, Pa, what are you two doing here? Ma lashed out and slammed her staff into his head, sending him falling into the floor. When he slowly got back up, Pa followed behind with his own strike. Tsunade stared in shock of what was going on but saw Ma sitting there with a glare. You brat, you haven't answered any of Naruto's letters yet. Yeah, I did. Pa raised an eyebrow. Really, then why has Naruto found out he has AF? Ian say when she showed up at the school, and not only that but he has stated to Gamakichi he has sent letter and not one of them has been opened. Jiraiya sweated. I was going to get to it. Jiraiya found himself in the floor yet again, and this time with multiple lumps. Gamakichi laughed but then turned to Tsunade. Hey Tsunade, Naruto wanted me to give you these. He quickly unfolded some papers and she looked at them. After reading over them a bit she gave a small smile. Well, I'll be Jiraiya, recovering from his betting, looked over her shoulder and smiled. "Ha! Way to go, kid, knew you could do it." Both were so proud. His report card and his scores were so high, and it showed he was one of the top students in his year. This proved to them that he wasn't an idiot and proved he was smart in his own way. They knew Hiruzen would be proud of him. "Well," Jiraiya sighed, "I guess I'll go and see him in a few days and explain the situation to him in greater detail. I should have a NS word sooner, so I think a face-to-face explanation would be better." "You better, idiot." Tsunade narrowed her eyes, "Otherwise all three of us are going to squash you." He paled and started to sweat. "I'll go next week, I swear. I just got to get everything together about his parents and the stuff they left for him." Tsunade nodded her head, and the elders did too. "We shall join you on this trip, Jiraiya, to ensure you fulfill your duties." Ha and Ma pointed their staffs at him, and he nodded, and soon the toads disappeared. "Want to get that drink still? I'll buy." With that, Tsunade was out of the office faster than Minato's Hiruzen. School. Naruto had taken the girl to the infirmary, and after confirming to Ayane that they fought, she apologized and explained her friend and she would reprimand her later. He never got a name, but he didn't care. He wanted to go back to his room and relax, maybe play on that game console his friends got him. But he quickly sidestepped a powerful blow behind high M and looked to see this overly chubby woman. "You dodged. Not bad, but you have to go down." Naruto sighed. "Sure." She charged him, but the minute she got within inches of him, she was flying through the air and hitting the ground with a massive thud. Naruto sighed and walked on, trying to get back to the dorm. "Not bad, Naruto." Turning his head, he saw Kyoka standing there with her trademark smirk. "You've gotten even stronger from what I can see." Naruto rolled his shoulder. "Well, fighting someone like Meru really got me excited, and I hate being bedridden for so long." "True." Kyoka walked up to him. "So, you ready for the festival?" "Festival?" Kyoka nodded her head. "Yeah, basically the top students compete in an event together, and this leads to the winners having the choice of what the two of them will compete in, and the winner gets to decide on a school rule." "Huh." Naruto rubbed his chin. "So, basically this is just to test the top students and see what happens, huh?" "Pretty much." She shrugged her shoulders before smirking again, making her chest bounce. Naruto really had to work hard not to stare. "But you're in luck, your partner is me." "Huh. Top scorers are on the same and such that means you as the top of the first years as partnered with the best in the third year, which is me." Naruto stared at her for a second. "Well, shit, what an interesting day." Naruto had to admit this is an interesting affair. Apparently, this was a big deal for the festival and something that he saw people were excited for. Kyoka and him were standing with each other on the stage, with them both being the highest ranking students in the placement tests and thus being partnered up. Next to them was the girl he met earlier. She is standing with a white hair girl wearing a black top and long black leggings and seemed to be tired. Considering she was just yawning all the time, there was validation for this train of thought. Next to them was Ayane, and she seemed to be paired with is young girl with a bow and arrow set, but she seemed to be very clumsy considering she was dropping all of her arrows on the ground. She had brown hair going down her back and wearing the female uniform and was the embodiment of a loli. Next to them was the black hair girl from Ayane's group carrying her spear and the black hair girl wearing the eye patch, and they were just facing away from one another. Finally there was the white hair girl in the goth Lolita dress while standing next to Samui, who was just smirking at the sight of the woman and waving at him. He returned it, but he did feel tension in the air. Looking up he saw Rhino watching him. He smiled and waved to her, making her huff and turn away from him. "Ladies and gentlemen, these are our top students. They are paired for the Bakugyaku festival." The loud cheer deafened the room and Naruto could only cover his ears. "Too loud." Turning to Kyoka he sighed. "Yeah, growing up I had more sensitive hearing than most, so things get too loud it bothers me. I've gotten better, but certain amounts of noise still gets to me." "Sorry to hear, but deal with it for now." Naruto frowned. "Introducing first our top scorers. They are the legendary pair and rivals that clashed on their first day at school. They are the ones targeted for the placement of top students in the school. As stated in Article 13, surpass your superiors." Naruto rolled his eyes, but the cheers continued and the teacher waved her hand, introducing the student pairings that will try to surpass them. She pointed to the first group. "First we have the group with He second highest scores Shiryu and third year Chako. Naruto saw the white-haired girl and the redhead talking and he could see that they were talking about something but he couldn't quite make it out over the noise. Next we have the third highest scores first year Ayane and third year Misa. The room cheered loudly and Naruto saw the third year dropping her arrows again and her bow and Naruto couldn't help but sigh. She needs to keep an eye on her stuff better. Kyoka sighed. Yeah, that is a constant problem with her. Next our fourth highest ranking group, due to complications third year. Naomi and first year Marukachi have been disqualified due to Naomi having a bit of an accident. Naruto leaned over. Who is Naomi? Kyoka whispered. That's the large girl you dismantled earlier. Naruto nodded his head and looked anywhere but the teacher knowing he might be in trouble for that one. The fifth highest scorers are first year Makoto and third year Kako. Naruto's sweat dropped. You see the tension between the two of them and Naruto swears it was getting worse. So, there a story with that? Naruto pointed to her friend and the other girl and Kyoka laughed. Just rivals. Nothing more. I think that it is cute that Kako is so close to her junior even if she will deny it. Naruto rolled his eyes. Yeah, close like him and Sasuke. Sasuke. Just thinking about him made him subtly gripped his chest. Something Kyoka noticed but decided not to ask. Finally the final team added to the mix is first year Samui Ni and third year Eren, both participating due to the disqualification of the previously mentioned team. Naruto looked at the lineup and had to admit all of them were fairly strong groups but he isn't too worried about them considering he was pretty sure that fighting is not something that possible. Now then, these are the groups that will be facing off to defeat Kyoka and Naruto for the top rank position in the school. To determine the event, the teacher turned and bowed. Principal, if you would. Standing there was a shaking man with a shaved head. He had glasses on his face, and just seemed to be one step away from falling over while wearing a thin sleeve. Less white shirt and a pair of long black pants and sandals. In his hand was a large square with different writings on each side. The principal quickly tossed the cube into the air and after smashing into the stage a few times it landed on one side in red and he just shivered some more. Bee boo. The audience was muttering. Boo, what's that, some kind of scaring contest? Do you think he meant something else? The teacher coughed. It is shortened by the principal but what he means is that this is boogie, meaning this is a dance competition. All the teams were having cheers about the situation. Mostly Ayane and her teammate while Chako and her teammate were confident in their chances compared to the others. Kako was indifferent but muttering she can't dance and her partner was the same. Finally Samui laughed a bit and mentioned it to her partner who was just standing there with indifference in her face. Naruto on the other hand groaned. Fuck, I can't dance. Hey. Turning his head he saw Kyoka smiling at him. Why are you looking so worried? We got this. Naruto raised an eyebrow but soon saw her waving her hands in a rapid and dizzying motion and her footwork also working in the same direction. She appeared next to him with her chest releasing a powerful bounce making all in the room, straight or not, stare. Well, were you able to see it? Naruto raised an eyebrow. Your movements. Vaguely. Good. She nodded her head. Because this is what we are going to do to win this. After all, she gave a sharp smile. I want my rematch. Naruto rolled his eyes. Sure. So when are we going to do this dancing routine? At my place, of course. Nani? Kyoka's home. Okay, I'm guessing you're rich. Kyoka smiled and laughed. Yeah, I guess, honestly due to my Ka-san's ventures and investments and business acumen, she has created a large financial empire for herself. She turned her head. You know she is one of the richest women in the entire world, and considered the richest woman in Japan. Quote, really? Naruto looked at the estate. I guess I can accept this as I don't think even the fire daimyo has a house this nice. Well, come on in. Naruto followed Kyoka through the front gate of her manor and walked into the front door of the manor, but he remembered the custom of removing his shoes so he did that first before stepping onto the wooden floor. Oh my. Naruto looked up and just sighed. Should have figured. Standing there was a woman with white hair, a very busty mature figure, wearing a tightly bound kimono around her body. The woman had her hair up in a bun and he could see that it was decorated quite interactly. But her hair had two bangs at the side drawing more attention to her beautiful face. He already had a guess but he had to be sure. Greetings ma'am, please excuse my intrusion. He bowed to the woman but she laughed behind her sleeve. This is my ka-san. Naruto sweated. No fucking shit. Well, at least it is nice tea. Oh no, that their genes are really good, I guess. What is with the fucking water in this country? Your guess is as good as mine. The woman looked at her daughter. Well, Kyoka, bringing him home to meet your ka-san. Even before you start dating, quite the bold move. Naruto's eyes widened a bit. What? Kyoka's face erupted in a red storm. That's not even close to the truth. Oh, then are you here to let him have a taste of you? Quote. Kyoka got in her mother's face and started shouting. No way. Naruto could only watch as their breasts smooshed together and neither seemed aware of him, just watching what looked like a pleasurable moment in front of him. Kyoka broke off from her mother and marched away. Hey, you haven't eaten yet, have you? No, but I can. Head to the dining room, I'll make you something. For all the energy he is going to need for later. No, Naruto sighed. I'm starting to regret coming here. Walking into the dining room, Naruto took a seat at the table and waited. All he could hear was the sound of water hitting one of those bamboo things he had seen, and after a while pushing it down to hit the stone beneath it. From this, Naruto looked around the room. And he was surprised about all the stuff in this building and just how calm the room felt compared to most places he had been to before. Well, this does explain her family's influence on my country at least. But still, it seems abrupt that she would help me and my people out with the situation with the snake. I mean, what does she really get out of it? Bah, who cares? Honestly, the fact they finally put an appropriate bounty on the heads of that Uchiha and that snake fuck is more than enough for me. I mean, that asshole murdered the third. I might not like the Hokages and what happened to me, but at least that man was willing to fight and stand up for what he believed in when it mattered. Not the greatest childhood, but he did everything he could and learned to only trust certain people with my safety. Naruto smiled. Maybe it was meant to be this way. Maybe, but you know what? I'm curious to see what this human has for you in terms of this dancing routine. I mean, your footwork has improved since learning the Nico style. Quote. True, but that still needs refinement from time to make sure I don't slack. Diligence is good, but sometimes you can take pride in what you accomplished. Brat. Did that before and look what happened. The Kyuubi had no response after this and Naruto sighed. He was getting a bit anxious and hungry since he skipped lunch during his fight with the red-haired girl. Shiryu, he thinks her name is. It had to be, he was sure. Maybe. Hope you're hungry. Walking into the room, Naruto saw Kyoka had changed to having a black top on, but one that was opened in the side, leading to clear view of her breasts and side without restriction. Instead of her normal skirt, she is wearing small shorts and they were drawing a lot of attention on those curves. Naruto looked at the spread and was surprised by the large amounts of food and how much of it was available. He saw pork, steak, and fish all mixed in with other dishes of vegetables, and he was impressed with how well cooked it all was. Whoa, you made all of this, Kyoka? Yes, it is something common in our home. Huh. Naruto took a bit of the first dish and his eyes lit up along with the feeling of excitement settling in due to the amazing taste of the food. Whoa, you're an amazing cook, Kyoka. Honestly, I'm amazed at how good this all tastes. Kyoka blushed slightly. I'm glad you like it. Naruto nodded his head but continued on eating. Kyoka ate some food for herself as well. Mostly both are enjoying the silence and enjoying the other's company. For Naruto, it is a nice reprieve from the usual shenanigans that seem to accompany his life, and to spend it with someone that he has come to see as a friend is nice too. On top of that, Kyoka wasn't bad to look at, so it was something extra to go with his meal. Hey, he might not be a pervert to the level of Jiraiya, but he was still someone that could appreciate the human body and the natural beauty of a woman. Kyoka, on the other hand, was patting herself on the back. She had known those cooking lessons would come in handy, but she was not sure when they would. Now she was glad she spent so much time working on those recently and that her mother was insisting on them as well. Plus, it helped that the only male she has come to like the way she cooked, thus filling her with more pride. Neither of them noticed a camera lens peering through the cracks of the door and looking at them. Behind it was Kyoka's mother, who was smiling and taking silent pictures. Oh my, it would seem they are acting like a future couple. She sighed. Ate again. Kyoka's father would have loved to meet this one. Too bad he didn't know when to keep it in his pants. The servants saw their mistress giggling to herself and shivered. Yakioka's father was not a subject they liked to talk about. Let's just say it included a dancer, him getting caught with said dancer, and him being put into a metal storage container and shipped somewhere. Naruto had finished, ate his food and sighed and clapped his hands. Thank you for the food. Kyoka smiled, but in seconds he found a pair of plates on his head, on his arms, in his hands, and on his right knee. Don. She dropped them. Each of those plates cost $200. Wouldn't it make more sense then to carry them one at a time? I want you to take the plates and deliver them to the kitchen. She pointed her finger in the direction of the kitchen and he started at the situation in shock. It was a good few steps and he was not sure what she was aiming for. But Naruto was always up for a challenge, so pulling back on his studies with Nico and his time with Jiraiya, he quickly pushed off his toes and used his chakra to keep the plates glued to his body as he spun and darted across the floor. Kyoka watched in shock, but then it turned into a grin. Naruto dropped the plates off in the kitchen and sighed. Congratulations, you managed the first step. Turning to Kyoka he frowned. You were testing me for something. Yep, she smiled. See, in my family we have been doing these dances, Nihon Buyu, for generations. This is something we are going to work on together for the competition. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Okay. Naruto shrugged his shoulders. I've never done any dancing before, so I guess this could be interesting experience, and if your footwork is to be believed then it could prove beneficial in the long run. Yep, but it is not as easy as it looks. She smiled. It takes tons of practice and precise movements, and I won't expect anything less than complete accuracy on our moves. She frowned. Fail to measure up and you'll wish you did. Naruto saw her aura flare to life and he sweated. Got it, work on this with all I got as if it is my life. Of course, she smiled, because your life is literally tied to your success after all. Okay. Naruto felt his stomach grumble and he groaned. Got a bathroom, I'm not feeling well. Kyoka frowned. Sure, but is it something you ate? Naruto smiled at her. Nah, I think it is an allergic reaction. I never ate some of that food, so it could be something my body can't stand. Regardless, your food was great. Naruto gave her a smile and she blushed. No doubt you're going to make a wonderful wife to someone in the future. Kyoka's ears started to steam, but she quickly turned. Whatever, follow me, we'll get some medicine and then you can take a bath. Naruto followed while frowning. Did I say something wrong? Moron. What's that supposed to mean? Kyuubi remained quiet after this. Naruto got some medicine and after taking some started to feel better, figuring it had to be something he ate now and his stomach was just not up to it. Which sucked. The food was really good. After changing into a towel he walked into the bath and sat on a chair with a sigh. Geez, feels like I never get a moment of silence, glad to finally have it here. He felt the door open and looked and his eyes bugged. Kyoka. She stood there wearing a white nearly see-through robe and her hair running down her back without her braids. I figure you could use someone to wash your back. Naruto's eyes were widened and turned from her. I guess. Naruto had never been in this position before. He never had a woman around him so brazen like her, so willing to display herself for all to see, but then again it was a bathroom. Once she started scrubbing his back, he could feel the softness of her touch and the tenderness of her care. Different from how she fights. Naruto remembered some of the rampages she went on through school and how she seemed to just look for anyone and everyone to fight, and this would lead to her slaughtering her way through anyone in her way. But at the same time, he saw there was this calm and precision in which she does things. And it makes him really think twice about her. Controlled, precise, and able to handle herself in a fight. She is a dangerous opponent. I didn't know it at first, but thanks to this experience I know for certain. She is a terrifying opponent for someone that underestimates her or thinks of her just as a brute with raw power. Naruto soon felt her hand sneaking around and soon touching a part on his chest and he froze. Don't. Kyoka's eyes widened. You need to be washed completely. I can handle the front. Kyoka listened to the firmness of his tone and quickly felt for the spot. He gripped her wrist, but it was too late. Her fingers touched something jagged and uneven and her eyes widened. A scar. I said to leave it alone. Naruto, why do you have a scar right over your heart? Naruto growled. I said leave it. Naruto removed her hand and quickly stood up, not caring that his towel fell off. not caring she was seeing his bare ass and really getting a better look at his bare back, in which she saw a scar right over his back where his heart would be. It looked like someone had literally punched a hole in his chest and was aiming for his heart. Kyoka saw the scar and couldn't help but stare. Naruto walked over to the water in the bath and sat down in it with her just looking at the back of his head. Naruto made no move or notion to acknowledge her, he didn't even bother to rn his head when he saw her take off her robe out of sight and enter the back with him. Social graces were something missing between the two, but Kyoka didn't care. She could only wonder and question about the scar. It looks like someone slammed their entire hand through his chest and ripped out of their back. But who would do that and how did he survive? In fact, she frowned. What do I know of him before he got to the school? Naruto just stared down at the water and he growled. He was so angry. He hated looking at that scar or people asking about it. It was just another horrible reminder of his past and something he desperately wanted to leave behind him. Something that would stay gone, but no matter how much he wishes, it would never come true. That was the most frustrating part of this entire mess. Naruto. Turning to Kyoka slightly, he stared at her. I'm sorry. She sighed. I didn't mean to look or broach on something you obviously don't want to talk about or deal with. Naruto sighed. It's fine. The damn thing has been with me since I was 12. I should be used to it when people look at it, but he touched the scar faintly. There is a part of me that will always hate this, as this was the mark of the end of my old life. Your old life? Naruto nodded his head. How much do you know about the elemental nations? Kyoka shrugged. I know you guys can use things called jutsu and chakra. I know that you're organized into these villages and ruled by some kind of feudal lord. I also know that some of the main issues with the nations is due to the rising problem with people getting stronger and more dangerous with their chakra. That's about right. Naruto sighed, but that is not the only thing. There is a traitor that came from our village. Well, I guess traitors to be more exact. Oh, Naruto sighed, before a small smile appeared on his face. When I was born I was all alone. My parents weren't around. The Hokage, our leader at the time, told me they died during the Kyuubi attack protecting me. I guess that was more than enough for me at the time, as it meant my parents loved me. Naruto smiled. Besides, while he was busy, he always made time for me, whether it is taking me out to eat on my birthday, playing with me in his office, or just teaching me some of the finer things in life. He always made the time for me when he could and protected me from those that wanted to exploit me. Naruto frowned. That was until the time I became a genin. Isn't that like the lowest ranking person in your system? Naruto nodded. Yep, to graduate, but thanks to an incident I was able to apprehend a traitor and earn a field promotion. Thanks to this I was put on a team with this bitch who I used to have a crush on and this guy who I thought was my friend while we're teaming together. Our sensei. He wasn't any better considering he was always late, making shitty excuses, reading his book, or just training the asshole off in private while leaving me high and dry. Naruto sighed. Kyoka raised an eyebrow at the mention of a crush. She must have been quite the girl to catch his eye. What was your crush like? Naruto rolled his eyes. Like most of the girls in my age group were, fangirls of my friend. Didn't train like she could, dieting all the time, and just outright wasting time and complaining about shit left and right. Whenever I tried being nice to her, she would hit me for, and this would anger me time and time again. More so, she would insult me, my parents, and everyone around me for as long as I could remember. Before I put up with it just because I thought if she got to me no it'd be better and in time it will improve, but it didn't. She kept abusing me to the point that I was always with a swollen cheek or cracked ribs throughout the week. In training if I hit her she beat me to a pulp and stomped on my crotch for good measure. Kyoka growled. Bitch better hope I don't get my hands on her, otherwise I'll show her what I can really do when I let loose. Then the asshole on my team. I admit I might have done stupid things and annoyed people and was childish most of the time, but at the end of the day I at least knew how to act professional when it counted and knew the Hokage was more lenient with me from time to time due to him kinda spoiling me. He laughed, but he always reminded me when I need to get my act together. He frowned. Then came the mission to Wave, a nation in need. We had basically been exposed to what most missions were like, full of blood and death and the world not being as black and white as I once thought. Sometimes, Naruto looked up to the ceiling, I still see them in my dreams. I see those two who taught me the most important lessons in my dream. What did they teach you? Naruto smiled. Always stronger fighting to protect your loved ones while also that not everyone that is classified as evil is unforgivable. It is those that show no remorse, then you show them the same treatment. Naruto sighed. After this, I started to really think back on things and realized how much more I had to catch up on and thus began training a little more diligently than normal. Naruto laughed, but even then it wasn't enough for those that had years of experience on me, so I still got my ass handed to me. Kyoka smiled. She knew that feeling. Fighting someone more experienced and can give you trouble if not outright defeat you. It is quite fun, but after the Chunin exams started things got hectic again. We ran into a traitor from our village by the name of Orochimaru. He did something to my teammate and he became more sadistic and cruel to those around him. After this, things went downhill more and more with him to the point that after the exam, I was named as an attention seeker while he was made out as a hero. Stating he defeated this monster that attacked us but it was me that did it, but his fangirl was jumping on this idea and thus screwing me out of possibly being promoted. Naruto sighed. That is when I met my second trainer and all he taught me is 2 moves and that is it. Then afterwards, I found out from the summons I have that he is my godfather. He didn't mention this to me or even bother explaining what is happening recently, just leaving me in the wind. Naruto sighed, but honestly I just hate the man for being another failure of a teacher to me. Naruto sunk into the water more. That's when it happened. My teammate out of jealousy and anger left our village to join up with the same traitor from before, and after he did this to me, Naruto pointing to his chest, I stopped caring. Naruto glared. I brought his ass back and what did I get for my efforts? A pat on the back. I wish. No, I got put on trial for being a terror and injuring the asshole. But he ended up escaping yet again and this led to my trial being thrown out and soon being requested to take leave due to the evil that I was supposedly feeling from the stress. So I did one better. I quit. Kyoka nodded her head. Given your treatment I'm surprised you didn't quit sooner. Naruto smiled. Yeah, but it wasn't easy. People begged me to come back, some were offering me everything. From specialized training and even secrets of the village, but I couldn't do it anymore. Not after they wanted to pardon that asshole for siding with a monster like the traitor was. Why do you hate him so much? Naruto growled. Because he invaded our village during the finals of the exam and in the aftermath of the mess, he led to the death of my grandfather, the leader of our village. He sacrificed his soul to the Shinigami in order to stop him. Kyoka's eyes widened. They had one of those in their country, but to think that it was possible to summon a being like that. That was terrifying for her, and now she got a greater picture. He hates him for siding with a man that murdered the only family he had and damning his soul to stop him. No wonder he grew to hate his village. Glad Ka-S. And raised the bounty on that guy. The first might add a few more zeros to just to make sure someone kills him. Naruto didn't know see her inner monologue. Then for a year I was training on my own away from everyone else, but then. That's when I met him. Naruto smiled seeing the image of his master who was smiling at him. That's when I met the man that would become my father figure and my best teacher. Naruto smiled. He was the best. Kyoka smiled and scooted closer to him, sitting inches from him. Tell me what it was like training with him. Naruto smiled and soon regaled her the story of the day he became Naruto Uzumaki Nico, the heir to the Nico style. Naruto had just gotten accustomed to his new lifestyle. Mostly, not dealing with the shinobi world and just doing his own thing without someone breathing down his neck to not do so. Well, minus the annoying former teammate that is blinded, a former teacher who was a hypocrite, and finally the Hokage's subtlety offering him his position back any time he wanted it. But if he was being honest, after almost a year of nothing but trash talk, sucky training, and just outright annoyance, he was happy to be done with that commitment. He was done putting up with shit from people, and he was done being looked at as if he was the one in the wrong all the time. The Hokage made it clear to the village that any attack on him would be investigated in. The council knew that stepping on her toes was not the same with Hiruzen. He was not one to butt heads with everyone, but when it came to Tsunade, duck for cover. Naruto had been working on the things he wanted to work on, chakra control. Meditation to focus his mind, hand to hand, and improving on his arsenal. He knew that the Akatsuki was still out there regardless of the new world that they discovered wiping them out. But he also knew people would be coming for him, and if Sasuke was to return he would make sure he is ready for him too. You're too stiff. Naruto turned his head and narrowed his eyes. You are. Standing there was a muscular man with long brown hair tied in a ponytail, brown eyes, and wearing a traveler's cloak. He had bandages on his feet and was wearing a pair of thin sweatpants. He just breathed the aura of confidence and as someone that is so powerful that he didn't need to have his guard up. It reminded him of Jiraiya and Kakashi and Ebisu. This pissed him off. Quote, I'm just saying the way you're throwing your strikes, it is too stiff. If you want to flow better you need to start swinging from your hips, not your shoulders. Naruto narrowed his eyes. Yeah, thanks for the tip, weirdo. Did you just come here to gloat about your all-knowing knowledge? Naruto sarcastically replied. The man laughed. Not odd, but you're not the type of idiot that doesn't understand when someone is trying to be helpful. He tilted his head, but you're the kind that hates people that are kind to him because you wonder, what is their motivation for telling me this? Are they just here to talk bad about? Or they are here to talk shit because they are better in some way or another? Am I right? Naruto growled. Yeah, what if you are? He shrugged with his hands up. Nothing really. Personally, I think that you're sloppy and whoever trained you doesn't deserve the title of sensei or master, I guess, in my terms. Naruto snorted. Well, he turned to the man, at least we can agree on that much. So, why are you here? He looked around and started touching some of the trees, noticing dried blood, cracks in the wood, and the signs of things being thrown. You out here training on your own? Yeah, why do you? I can see you're a hard worker. I mean, look at the damage to the trees and look at your handiwork related to the power you're putting into the strikes. I can tell you train through the day without stopping. The only time seems to be when you're hungry or need to get some sleep. No. Naruto growled. Why the fuck? But you lack a real art, a real skill. He smiled. In short, you're not a prodigy born of distinct skill but one that is forged by the fires of combat and through constant tempering. He put his hands on his side. In short, my kind of pupil. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Yeah, so what are you offering to be my teacher or something? Yep. Should warn you though, I don't pull punches when it comes to training. You're going to train diligently and you're going to hate me by the end of it. But I'm sure you'll do better than most when it comes to your training. Naruto nodded. Yeah, but I need proof of this so-called strength. Your pretty words won't impress me. The man stared at him with wide eyes, before a smile broke out on his lips. Oh ho ho, you want a spar then? All right. He threw his cloak off and stood there with a smile on his face. Let's see what you got, kid, and let me show you what I can teach you. Naruto smirked, pulling out his kunai and hiding a shuriken. Let's see. With swiftness he threw a shuriken at the man, but he found the man had quickly deflected it to the ground. Naruto felt himself lifted on the ground and into the air. What the fuck? Naruto soon felt his leg grabbed and he was thrown across the ground, skidding against the dirt. Jumping to his feet he was met with a brutal blow to his face. The man had timed his get up and managed to strike him with a brutal kick across the face. Shit, this guy. Don't get lost, kid, you lose that way. Naruto soon jumped to his feet and quickly held his hand out and formed a Rasengan. Thanks to his training with chakra control and his diligent practices he managed to master creating a Rasengan without needing a clone or help. Oh, the man smiled. Interesting move you got there. I'm interested, let's see what it can do. He held his hands out. Come on, show me what you got. Naruto roared and rushed him a blur of speed, thanks to his own training in improving his body, and appeared in front of the man. Naruto saw the cocky smirk on his face and he could only growl and thrust the sphere into his chest. That look, I fucking hate it. Everyone in my life has it. Sakura, Kakashi, Jiraiya, Iruka, everyone. I'm tired of people looking at me as if they are better than me. I'm tired of being seen as less than a person. I'm Naruto Uzumaki and I want to be seen and respected. Naruto's orb almost hit the man, but he quickly slammed his elbow down on Naruto's wrist, sending the orb downward into the ground. His eyes widened. No way. Yes way. Naruto was sent flying with a brutal knee strike, one that sent him into the air and crashing onto the ground with blood leaking out of his jaw from the impact. It hurts. I can't win. This guy, he's fighting me as if he is aiming to kill. Naruto smiled slightly. This is what training should be like, nothing held back. In reality shoved in your face so that one day I can knock that smug smile off his face. Naruto tried to sit up but he couldn't, but he heard the man laugh. Got to say that move of yours was impressive, but the problem was you were too straightforward. If you always travel in the same direction, your opponent is going to predict your movement without fail. He walked over to him and crouched next to his face. So kid, thinking I live up to my hype? Naruto coughed a bit but he smiled. Yeah, you're not full of shit, I'll give you that much, but you're still a prick. He laughed. Yep, I am. Holding his hand out. So what do you say? Want to learn? Huh. Naruto was not creative in this department. I'm asking, do you want to learn the style I was using? Why though? Shouldn't you go and find one of those great prodigies? He shook his head. Tried that once. Didn't work out like I hoped. Kid got all pissy when I told him I lost a fight and then stated I was unworthy of being his master and he ran off. Kinda hurt, but it was true. Losing sucks, but it is not the end of the world, you know. You win and you lose, that is how it all boils down in the end. He sighed, but he didn't understand that, and that is what made him a prodigy, not understanding there are limits to what can be learned and sometimes defeat is better than victory. Those that are prodigies fail to learn this lesson and this leads to their downfall. How bad it is, that is completely up to them. Naruto nodded. Sasuke hated losing. That is the one thing he noticed since his departure. He hated losing to anyone in anything. It was one of the reasons he fled. He was tired of someone catching up to him when he is supposed to be this invincible prodigy and someone to stand over his peers, but the reality is, he was about the same level of skill of himself. He just got lucky with having extra training and alike from his family and having the Sharingan at his side as well. Naruto looked at the man and frowned. If I learn, I don't want you pulling punches. Train me or I'll walk off. The man smiled. I wouldn't have it any other way. 6 months later. Flow control is important because it can allow you to control your opponent passively without them having a chance to get into the battle. Those that are stronger than you physically won't see this coming. You mean like how adamantine form should be reserved for more of a solid base and counter move for those that are weaker but are moving too fast or just need to back off. Yep. Naruto motioned him. Naruto threw his right hand to his face but Nico quickly rolled the wrist in his hand and sent him flying over him and forcing him to land on his back. Naruto grunted but looked up at his master who was smiling at him from above. See, even thog. You threw a punch, I was still able to win from a defense point. Naruto nodded his head and jumped to his feet. Okay, so how do you want me to do this then? He smiled. Simple. I'm going to punch you and you're going to try and redirect the flow of my punch. Don't worry, I won't go all out right away, but you're gonna have to learn fast. Naruto quickly ducked under a swift punch and rushed to him. Nico countered with a brutal counter to his stomach, sending him skidding backwards. Defense only. Right. Naruto spent the next 10 minutes just dodging and blocking his strikes, but as time passed he was starting to see it. The movement of his shoulder. The twitch in his hand. The timing of his breath. All of it was adding up. He was starting to see the strike coming faster and faster. Nico threw a punch at his face. But Naruto batted the strike away with his opposite hand and Nico smiled. There you go, you got the first step of the Nico style. Flow control down, and it only took you 10 minutes. Now then, let's go a bit faster and with 2 different strikes. Naruto nodded but soon looked behind himself. Come on out, I know you're there. Out of the trees came Jiraiya. Naruto growled. What do you want, pervy sage? The man sighed. Naruto, we need to talk, so can you come with me to the Hokagedo? Turned fully to him. I'm not at the beck and call of the Hokage anymore. I don't have to answer the summoning if I don't want to. Quote. Jiraiya sighed and rubbed the back of his head. Naruto was right. As a civilian he didn't have to do jack shit, but he really needed to talk to him about this master of his. Ever since the guy showed up, Naruto was seen less and less in the village and seen more with this man and seemed to be training non-stop with him. It was a concern the man might lead him away from the village, or worse, turn him against them, and it might lead to them having to fight him to keep him from destroying the village. Naruto, please, I know. Know what? Know that I know you Have been spying as training for the last 6 months. How were you just watching and trying to find out what this man is up to? Why was Master bothering to train me in the first place? Naruto, this could be a matter of security or fear of losing your favorite pet. Jiraiya frowned. That's not what I was about to. It's true though. Naruto sighed. Why are you really here? You haven't really trained me before and now suddenly someone is actually bothering to try. You're wanting to monitor him, if not throw him out of here. Jiraiya growled in frustration. He was frustrated as he knew Naruto was right. No one had properly trained him since his days in the academy, and he was sure if he was properly trained or that his sensei was allowed to help him all through his childhood with training, then possibly it could have been a solution to the issue. More so, he could have had greater success and even stopped Sasuke without all the damage done to him. He was that confident in Naruto's PPED potential, and he failed to bring it out. Kakashi failed to even see it, and Iruka saw it too late. Jiraiya, Naruto sighed. Let's be honest, you and we have never been sensei and student. But we are. Jiraiya saw him deadpan. Really, other than the Rasengan and the summons, what have you taught me, huh? Jiraiya opened his mouth and then closed it. What did he teach him outside of that? Quote, I taught you how to use the chakra inside of you. You mean the Kyuubi? He turned to Nico, who shrugged. He told me about 2 months ago. Didn't care either way, it just make training more fruit fu. If he can heal so efficiently and quickly. Meaning we can accelerate his training program. He smiled and clenched his fists, and all Jiraiya could see as an honest teacher wanting the best for his student. To train him as he requested without holding back in the least. Jiraiya saw how receptive Naruto was to this and could see the anger in his eyes. He knows about it, and you know what? It took me being thrown into a canyon to get that done, otherwise I would have died. Instead of teaching the hand signs or for fuck's sake explaining the process, you just threw me down there without a second thought. Let's be honest, if I hadn't summoned the fox, I would have died. How would you explain that to the village? Jiraiya paled. Yeah, exactly. Between the 3 teachers, you taught me the most mauve. And the Kyuubi, I'll give you that, but outside of that, you haven't done shit for me since I quit. Only monitor me and then go off to the hot springs for your fucking research. Naruto sighed. Worst of all, you still haven't paid me back after you stole my wallet and blew it on booze and girls. Jiraiya groaned. He was right about that, and he owed the kid more money thanks to that incident. Naruto frowned. Get lost, Jiraiya. I want to train with sensei a bit more before we eat. Turning from the old man, he sensed him standing there for a few more seconds. Then he vanished in a shushin with Nico smiling. All right, back to training. Since he interrupted, we are going to go a bit longer and then we can eat. Naruto sighed, him and his big mouth. Jiraiya had arrived back at the tower and sat against the door of the Hokage's office. He really fucked up with Naruto. The kid was right on all fronts and he hated admitting it. The kid was screwed from day one. He didn't have a proper teacher. And the one that did teach him, Kakashi, barely did shit, and he taught him 2 things and that was it. The kid had every right to be pissed at all of them for their failure in his training and his lack of instruction. How was he supposed to improve if someone didn't at least show him how to do it or give him proper instruction? Jiraiya always thought that Naruto would be like his father. A natural genius, but he gave it too much credit. Naruto was a genius, but he was more like Lee, a genius of hard work and dedication. Give him a task and he would complete it. Give him nothing and just tell him to do something. He can be lost for quite a bit until he figures it out. Naruto was a diamond and he failed to see it properly. Jiraiya could only sigh and wonder what his sensei would do. Who was he kidding? The old man would kick his ass. His eyes hardened and he shushined away from the tower and back to Naruto and his master. There he saw them finishing up their drill of whatever move he was teaching him. Naruto saw him and frowned with his arms crossed over his scared chest, reminding him of what happened between him and Sasuke. What do you want now? Naruto, look, you're right. I was a shit teacher. I did teach you some stuff, but I didn't help you in a way that benefited your career or made you ready for what is in the field. It is true that I was expecting you to do TS on your own, but the reality is that was unfair. If you are given the tools, I know you can succeed at your goals, but you didn't have them. No shit. Nico slapped Naruto on the back of his head. Don't be rude. Naruto groaned. Either way, Jiraiya rubbed the back of his head. You're right. I didn't take your training seriously and no one other than the old man has. Which is why, I'm going to make you this promise right now. He walked up to Naruto and put his hands on his shoulders and stared him in the face. I will take your training seriously. I will teach you everything you need to master your chakra, and if you ever decide to return to the field you will be ready for whatever comes your way, and if you don't, he waved his hands, then at least you're ready for any encounter from the outside. Naruto nodded his head but turned to Nico, who just smiled. It'd be good for your studies, and plus this means we can double your training schedule, so, you know what that means. He laughed. More exciting opportunities. Naruto sighed. Fine. But you better keep your promise, pervy sage, otherwise I'll let the fox have you as a chew toy. Jiraiya paled. Promise I will take this seriously. Naruto rolled his eyes and soon the three started talking through his training schedule and what he wanted to accomplish. Not knowing that someone else was watching from the trees, and it was Tsunade and Kakashi. She had her eyes narrowed on the gray-haired man who just shook his head. It seems he still won't take responsibility for his own inaction. Tsunade growled. Correction, he has, he admitted. His weakness, and he admitted his faults. That is more than you have done. What the hell were you thinking teaching the Uchiha that move? He needed it against Gaara. She shook her head. What was Sensei thinking putting you in charge of his training? I don't care what the village wants anymore with Naruto, but I don't want you anywhere near him. At this point, he is marked as this guy in Jiraiya's student. Any harm that comes to them and you'll answer to me. She glared deeply at Kakashi. Are we clear? Kakashi stared at her. That's fine with me. I don't want to continue with a student. She failed to uphold the values of our team. Kakashi shushed away, and this led to Tsunade just sighing in more rage. What the fuck is happening in this village? Tsunade shushed away, hoping that this meant that Naruto would finally get the love and care he deserved after all the bullshit. Sadly, tragedy would soon follow. The end. Remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.